Welcome, everybody. Welcome in the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios on the beautiful south side of Chicago. I am Pugs Moran with your daily dose of information. We do it every day, Monday through Friday, around about the 12 o'clock hour. It's 12:26 today. Busy day. Busy day. Busy next 24 hours. Next busy 36 hours. The boy is coming. The boy is coming to spend the summer here. The Texas-born and bred young man, 17 years old, will be getting on an airplane and landing at Midway Airport sometime tomorrow. And there's a lot to prepare for. There was a lot to do here because, living here at the beautiful Southside Studios, it wasn't really, I'm not entertaining, if you know what I mean. I'm not having dinner parties. I'm doing streams and, so we had to get the place ready for the boy. And it is. He's got his own room straight out of 1979. He's got a room. In the room he's in, it's got like an old-timey TV, a big tube TV that he's going to be like, what's up with that? I don't think he's ever seen one of those before. And if he wants it, there's a VCR. And by if he wants it, he ain't gonna want it. He ain't gonna want the VCR. He doesn't know what that is. I do want to see if isn't that something that people do on YouTube? Don't they film their kids trying to figure? Maybe I'll film my kid trying to figure out how to turn a VCR on. Oh my God. And you know what? That'd be such a BS video too, from the perspective of like the Gen X dad or whatever, because we didn't even know the VCR. There was like one autistic kid in the family who knew exactly how to program it and time it. 90% of VCRs had a flashing clock because nobody wanted to take the time to learn how to do the time and the date and all of that. We could hook it up to the TV. We knew where the inputs were and we could stick a video in. The days of the VCR. People pine for them. You see that a lot. People are like, I wish they had Blockbuster again. No, you don't. That is such revisionist history. I mean, look, I'm all for pining for the good old days of youth. But what we're pining for, when we think back, like, I would love to go to Blockbuster. They should bring Blockbuster back. The reason Blockbuster went away is because we all stopped going to Blockbuster because they improved the process. We no longer had to put shoes on, get in the car, drive to a place, and hope against all hope that some other asshole hadn't taken the movie you wanted. We improved on that, and it's just exponentially better. So now when I see people going, wouldn't it be great Friday night browsing at Blockbuster? No, that would suck. But you know what you're saying? It would be great to be 17 again. That's what you're doing. Come on, we live in much easier times. Come on. Don't you wish you could spend 4 hours at Blockbuster? No. I mean, I have fond memories of it because generally speaking, I have fond memories of being a teenager. And that's what that's all about. It's why I like Milli Vanilli songs. You think I like Milli Vanilli? No, there is a sentimental attachment that the minute I hear a Milli Vanilli song brings me back to a time that I wish I was again. 19. That's what that's about. Sentimental attachment. So anyway, what was I talking about? My kid in the VCR. All right, that'll be fun. Also, how great are grandmas, right? So here's why the show's a little bit late today. So grandma's like, you don't have any food there. And I'm like, yeah, no, we don't. That's all right. We don't have any food. So grandma's like, you go to the store. And she like gave me her card. She's like, you go to the store, you buy food for him. My grandson's not going to go hungry. And I'm like, nah, he's not going to go hungry. So that's what I did. I went shopping. You guys ever go shopping? This is not shopping. Of course you've gone shopping. Have you guys ever gone shopping on a Friday morning before 10 a.m.? Bet you haven't. I bet you haven't. Of course you haven't. Why would you? That's where we pros like to shop Friday, 10 a.m. Everything that's going to be on sale, the absolute best selections, all the shit that they're trying to get rid of because they know there's going to be a rush for space. shelf space and stuff. Come Saturday morning when everybody does their shopping. So Friday morning, like 9 a.m. Oh my God, go to the meat section. Go to the meat section. Price to move, baby. That's right. So I bought some soon to spoil chicken breasts. No, I'm kidding. They're fine. They look great. But that's when you get the good deals, like Friday morning. So I've done my shopping, and thanks to Grandma, and we're good. He's got food. I'm looking at the stuff we bought, and I'm like, I did that thing that all of us ugly Americans do when we spend a couple of hours shopping for food, and then we get home and we go, there's nothing to eat. I just spent $100 at the Jewel or the Kroger or wherever, and there's nothing to eat. They're shit to eat. They're shit to eat. But I opened the refrigerator and I'm like, there's nothing to eat. there's nothing I can just grab. But anyway, we're good. Look, if we're like in any kind of a problem where we can't leave the house, we're not going to starve. We got food. We got meat. We got stuff to make dinners. Although this kid's coming to Chicago. He's going to want like a different beef from a different beef stand every single day. It's like, Dad, let's try that beef stand now. I'm like, dude, that's going to be another $20. I got a freezer filled with meat. Anyway, the boy's coming. We're all very excited. So I, me, I'm a master shopper. And food shopper. I'm great, man. I've been doing this a long time. I can get the most for I know how to make a dollar stretch in a grocery store. I know where all the soon to spoil foods are. That's my place. Soon to spoil. Okay, they don't call it soon to spoil. That's what I call it. Especially when I'm haggling with a butcher. What do you mean? Take another $1 off that. What do you soon to spoil? It's not soon to spoil. Soon to spoil. Take it. Come on, man. Take $1 off. All right. Gotta be able to talk to people in this life. But I went to two stores today. I went to the main grocery store to get all the main stuff, and then I went to Aldi. Any of you guys, do we have any people in the chat room? You guys, any of you guys Aldi shoppers? I hear a lot about Aldi. My mom loves Aldi. She loves the Aldi. She's like, the Aldi is like her main thing. She does all the real shopping at a real store, but then she can't wait to go to Aldi. I think Aldi's a bit of a scam. I don't like the whole vibe of Aldi, and I don't like that. Look, okay, I never bring a bag. All right. I'm always walking. Today, I broke a jar of Jardinera at the Aldi on Cicero and 111. Broke a jar of Jardinera because I'm not going to pay the 25 cents. Are you fucking kidding me, Aldi? You can't just let us have carts. What is wrong with you? Well, but our prices are cheaper. Not that much. Not that much. Okay. So anyway, they got good coffee. Aldi coffee is incredibly good. But milk, I was gonna buy milk. I thought, okay, I'll buy milk and eggs at Aldi and coffee, right? That's the good stuff. Maybe they'll have some nice deals at Aldi on fresh produce because they do that too. So that was what I was thinking. So I go into Aldi. And I turned away the milk at the Mariano's, and I get to Aldi's, and it's more expensive at Aldi's. And it's on sale at Aldi's. It's like $2.99 at Aldi. It was like $2.59 at the Krogs or at the Mariano's. Kroger, when I say Kroger, here in Illinois and Chicago, we have a chain called Mariano's. They're owned by Kroger. So all the cool Kroger brand stuff that you want, you can still get it. You can get it in Mariano's. That's why I go to Kroger. Anyway, I think Aldi's a bit of a scam. And yeah, I broke up. I didn't know what to do. I've been to Aldi 5 times in my life. I hear about it all the time. Like it's some, promised land. So I walk in and I'm like, okay, I need a head of lettuce, right? I'm going through they keep the produce section is very wet market. That's another problem I have with Aldi. You can put a little effort into making this place look nice. I mean, it looks like a Dollar General. It's just a Dollar General with grocery store stuff. All right, anyway. So I start to pick up my stuff at Aldi, right? And I'm realizing, I'm like, fuck, this is one of those we don't give you a bag places or whatever. I don't even know how it works. So I put everything down and I go out to my car and I grab a Dollar Tree bag that I had in the back seat. I'm like, all right, I'm using this. And I'm sticking things in. But the Dollar Tree bag is also a piece of garbage product and it's starting to rip. And now I've got too much stuff in my Aldi Dollar Tree bag, and I grab some Jardinere, and I'm like, okay, and I start to move, and it slides off, and it fell, and it went, broke right on the ground. I did what I think was appropriate. I stood there for a good 30 seconds, maybe even a minute, looked around, wasn't hiding, and then just went about my shopping. What am I going to do? I'm not going to clean it up. They hire people to do that. Oh, is there a robot that I put 25 cents in and the robot comes out and cleans? Is that how Aldi's doing it now? I don't know. I felt guilty for all of about 3 minutes, but then I was like, I'll get over it. I was wondering, I'm like, is somebody going to hunt me down? Like the whole time I was there, I'm like, obviously people know I'm the guy who broke the Jardinere, right? I wasn't hiding. I was just like, continuing with my shopping. Was it incumbent upon me to go, hey, anybody got a broom? I got to clean up my mess. Is that also part of the Aldi experience? I don't know. So I just walked away. But I did have a little bit of a thing in my head where I'm like, are they watching me? They're going to come in. Am I going to get out the door? And are they going to go, hey, you owe us another $3.50 for that broken bottle of Jardinere? They didn't, which is good. So I escaped that. All right, let's say hi to the chat room. Every day we like to reward the podium on the chat room. A podium, just like on F1 racing. First place, second place, and third place is who we reward. Easy for you to say. First, second, and third place is who we reward. We've got Jen. She's in first place. Peter, he's in second place. And April is on the podium. Frankie B. So close, Frankie B. So close. Frankie B's there in fourth place. All right. Something's going on. Wow, that was weird. I know my body. That was weird. I said something and then there was no bottom. There was like, went away. I had no voice for a second. That's weird. All right. Let's see here. We have an executive producer of today's show. That's right. This show runs on your gratuities and your kindnesses. We exist because you say, I want to hear that today. So you drop a little something, $5, $10, $15, $50, $100, whatever. I don't care. I do not discriminate. We've got an executive producer today. Thank you so much to Tracy D. Tracy D, relentlessly supportive of this show every month. Thank you, Tracy. Goes a long way. Tracy's surprised me because it was a nice one, and I didn't know. I looked at it and I'm like, what? And so thank you, Tracy, our executive producer today. That's awesome. If you want to be Monday's executive producer, just remember Monday starts Pledge Week. We're going to go hard. We got to raise money on Monday, Oh, my God. Spread the word. Support this kind of daily talk radio lifestyle without any partisan position, no political lens. We're just working class folks, and we're pissed. We feel like nobody has it for us, and we see the world through that lens. At least I do. But I'm using the royal we, so I hope you're not offended. What else is happening in the chat room here today? Where's Maddie? I haven't seen Maddie. Maddie was supposed to come on today. Is she in the chat room? Hold on. There she. Oh, no. Still don't see Maddie. All right. I see April. We've got the Lib Femtard. All right. Hopefully Maddie will be on with us later today. Let's see here. Peter is here. Barney is here. I'm just trying to I'm counting some heads. Taronda, KB is here. All right, let's see. I'm just looking if we're missing anybody. Mikey D, April. Yeah, we're missing Adam. We're missing Byron. I don't see Barney, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll keep going. It's going to be a big show. We got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about today. First and foremost, here in Chicago, I'll probably talk about this first because this is very big breaking news. One of the reasons that I was late today was because I was sitting in my car. You know how I do that thing before I start the show. I'll go up to see Nani. Nani runs the bodega on the corner. It's like a little convenience store kind of thing. So I go up there. I clear my head. It's just at the end of the block. It only takes me 5, 6, 7 minutes to go there and back. Anyway, I like to do that, and I come back. But we had breaking news here in Chicago. The Chicago Bears stadium issue. Chicago Bears put out a statement today saying that Northwest Indiana, it's going to be the place. We're going to talk about it. And the reason the show was late is because obviously Chicago radio right now is going nuts. And I was like listening to Leela and whatever the people on the score, Leela Rahimi, Mark Grody, and Marshall Harris. They're going back and forth. And holy crap, is this an interesting story? At least it is to me. And we're going to talk about it because it's big news happening here. We're also going to go through the top stories in the world. We'll talk about the ISS. We'll talk about a Supreme Court ruling in favor of the FCC that I, a lifelong broadcaster, support. I actually support this. It's good. Supreme Court and the FCC teamed up and seemingly came to a decision that really does, well, I don't know if it benefits us, but it's in our best interest moving forward. What else are we going to get into? I want to talk about, we don't do politics, but one of the big things that you see people, digging their teeth into today. Look, I'm not going to talk about the guy running in Maine and his Nazi tattoos or his Tinder dates or whatever. I don't even know what's going on. I'm not going to talk about, what else am I not going to talk about? Whatever. But what I do want to talk about is this thing about the president falling asleep. Okay, the president, this was a big story yesterday, and it's still a big story because apparently the president fell asleep again. And we're going to talk about that because what I've got and what we're going to see is just like a whole bunch of examples of this happening in front of live cameras. And I don't understand why it's not a big problem for people. I don't, because, truly, it seemed when Biden was doing similar things that it was a big problem, that it was a major deal breaker. The nickname Sleepy Joe was like a scarlet mark of dishonor. We don't seem to care. No, we don't seem to care now. Well, yeah, it's fine for this guy. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into that whole thing. Also, there's a situation. I don't know if you've been following this. There are some influencers. Now, I don't know who they are because I don't know many influencers. There's a couple of influencers who I guess they're fairly popular. I mean, popular enough that TMZ and Reuters and AP, they're all covering this story. So 2 influencers, I guess they got themselves pregnant and they've decided to terminate the pregnancy because the baby failed its tests. If you've ever had a baby, you got all these tests, man, and they are really scary. Like when you are waiting for the results, because you've got to contemplate all kinds of things that maybe you don't want to contemplate. What if these tests come back and it says that my kid has X, right? Man, that's a rough thing. So these 2 influencers went through that and they decided based upon what they heard to terminate the pregnancy. And they're getting, trashed and death threats and all that. So we're going to talk about that story because, man, that's a heavy story. It's a heavy story, but I also think it's one that most of us can relate to. Anybody who's, God. I remember my kid, never mind. I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about my kid. Other than after he was born, a doctor came up to me in the NICU and said that we're going to run some additional Down syndrome tests. This is my kid in the NICU, just born. He had a very, very difficult birth. And we're going to run some Down syndrome. And I said to this doctor, I go, they already did that months ago. He doesn't have it. And the doctor's like, well, I don't know. But this is a doctor. So I went home like that first night and like for 2 days, I'm like, what the? I go, after all of this, we already went through, the early stage of the pregnancy where they do those tests where they clear you of any kind of, retardation or Down syndrome or any of that. So we've already gone through that. And now you're telling me at birth, it's like, oh, we're back on again. Oh, was that horrible? It turned out to be nothing. And apparently the doctor who told me that got yelled at by our doctor. Because when I told our doctor, when I went to the room and I said, I go, wait, what is this? Yeah, I didn't say this in front of his mother, but out in the hallway, I said, what is this? This guy came up to me and said that they're running a battery of tests on my son for Down syndrome. And he went, what? The doctor, my wife's doctor. He says, what? And I go, yeah. He goes, who said this to you? I go, the guy who's down in the NICU right now. And he stormed off. But anyway, I didn't hear anything for like a day. And then the next day I saw the doctor again in my wife's room. And I said, come over a second. And I said, so did they run tests? And he goes, no, your son is fine. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Turns out my kid had a real traumatic birth and he collapsed the lung screaming. And because of that, his face blew up like a balloon. So when the NICU doctor saw him, he had like a pumpkin head. Yes, it was a little disturbing at first, but I was assured it was all part of the, birth thing and that he'd go back to normal. And then the doctor tells me he might not go back to normal. And I'm like, what kind of thing is that to say? Jesus, the kid's hanging on by a thread here. Ugh. Anyway, so we'll talk about that story. And I want to jump into the chat room on that because maybe you guys have some stories or some life experiences there. And then we'll do some actor I never heard of. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, but I just saw this breaking before we came on. Some actor in Hollywood got killed by his girlfriend's son. Guy by the name of James Handy. We'll see what's going on with that story. Apparently he's in Top Gun. He was like in Top Gun Maverick. And all right, whatever. I don't know. Like I said, that one just popped across my screen. Hold on. Got to make sure I'm on the page here. I want to make sure that we don't. There is that Byron. There we go. There's Byron. There's Maddie. All right. Very good. April's singing the praises here of Aldi. She says also they have knockoff Red Bulls and some alcohol. Don't you work at HEB? All right. All right, hold on. I'm just trying to see if I didn't miss anything. I want anybody. Barney, look, it's easy for you to claim now. This is an easy victory to, just stolen valor. Barney's like, I was the kid who could program the VCR. Sure, easy to say now. So was I. Really? I don't know. Maybe somebody was. I mean, there were kids that could do it. To be honest with you, I could do it too. The thing that I could do, the thing that I relied on heavily, that I just thought was the height of technology back in 1986 was, you would pre-program shit to record. Like I had a thing that would record every Thursday at 8. Saturday Night Live recorded every Saturday at 10:30, right? So I was able to do that. I could do some things. I was playing a little dumb, but let's be honest. Most of the adults in our life had no clue what to do with the VCR. That was like, you know what it was like? It'd be like putting a VR helmet on grandma today. That's the equivalent today. Put a VR helmet on your grandma, and that's what it was like watching your parents try and program a VCR in 1985. All right, let's see here. Let's get started. The top stories today. Let's run through these. Again, this is probably going to be a fairly expedient show, and I apologize for that, but I got a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of stuff still to do. And then, no interruption. We'll just be back on Monday. Pledge Week Monday. Okay, guys, so first, hot topics, top stories. The Senate apparently has passed a $70 billion immigration bill. This is a major legislative victory for the Trump administration. The United States Senate passed the reconciliation bill early Friday morning, providing $70 billion to fund immigration and customs and ICE. This is the ICE funding bill. The bill passed after a lengthy vote-a-rama. I don't know what that is. There was never a West Wing episode called Vote-a-rama, so I don't know what Vote-a-rama is. The bill passed after a lengthy vote-a-rama and did not include a Democratic-backed ban on the administration's, quote, anti-weaponization fund. It now heads to the House. All right. Guess? I don't know. Supreme Court. Want to talk about this one. The Supreme Court has upheld the wishes of the FCC. Now, again, working in radio, the FCC was like an evil thing. Eminem, he sang of their haunting nature. So the FCC, they're actually doing something good for us here. The FCC fined, this is a couple of years ago, they fined Verizon and AT&T because our cell phone carriers, without telling us, are just selling all our data. They're like making profit off of everything that we do on Google, all of that, whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's shit like that. So without our consent, the cell phone companies, Verizon and AT&T, were just gathering all this information about us, the dust of us using their product. Oh, what can we use with this byproduct, all this data? They started selling it because apparently it's worth something. The FCC said, hey, man, you can't just do that. So they fined 3 years ago, Verizon and AT&T. What are the numbers here? 50 and 70 million? Oh, what is it? Hold on. I lost my place. All right, I don't have it. Anyway, this Supreme Court case was brought by Verizon and AT&T jointly. They don't want to pay the fine that the FCC levied them. The FCC levied the fine on them for using customer data for their own benefit, for their own profit. They would sell all the data. And we know, we've heard about this a lot. But anyway, here's an example of the government actually doing something, going, hey, don't do that to these people. And that is a good thing. Now, there's probably some motives and, something devious going on behind the scenes. Somebody's making money who shouldn't. But okay, so you get that. So that's what the FCC did. Now, they never paid AT&T and Verizon. They're like, what, this isn't fair. So they basically contested it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And today the Supreme Court said, no, you fuckers got to pay. So that's good. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, has announced that they are probing the abortion pill. How do you say it? What's it called? FDA probes abortion pill safety. A senior official confirmed that the Food and Drug Administration is moving forward with a safety study of the widely used abortion medication Can't say it. I can't say it. Mifepristone. There you go. Look at me. See? Never give up. So they want us to the abortion pill, Legal and medical experts view this as a potential procedural pathway for the Trump administration to place a strict national limits on the drug's distribution. So it's the abortion pill. It's not from my time. I don't really. Sounds like a magic bean. Sounds like if you just said like in 1995, you wouldn't have to worry about what happened last night because you could just take a magic bean pill and be like all over. I think that's great. I mean, look, obviously, I don't know a whole lot about it, but at that stage of the game, how can that be abortion? You just had sex the night before. She takes a pill. How can that be abortion? How can that be a bad thing? Well, I guess the argument here is that there are people that just don't want us limiting human procreation at all. That's it, right? Any kind of or any kind of, what's it called? Hold on. I just lost my computer. Any kind of birth control, short of, I guess, just no sex at all. Like that's what they're okay with. I don't know. It seems crazy. We are sexual people. We have sex. It seems to me that this is the best option, right? Like if you could actually take a pill, what is it, within 48 hours or something? I don't know what it is. But if there was actually, you could just take a pill and it would just wash you out. How is that the same? And by the way, I'm pro-choice. I don't really have a opinion that I care to share publicly about abortion because honestly, I see it as a medical procedure that women go through. I do. So anyway, that whole thing, that's different. This pill, there's just a pill you can take and how is that a problem? That's just, anyway. Why aren't dudes behind that? Like that you would think like dudes, especially a dude like Trump, who was just slinging jizz everywhere back in his day. I mean, you would think that he would be totally okay with this, which is why, I have such a problem with him because I know that he is. He don't give a fuck about an abortion pill. My God. Trump's like, that's pretty great, actually. But it's for political reasons. His weird-ass base that he shares nothing in common with want this. So he's like, yeah, that's what I'll do because I got no principles. Anyway, that's what's happening. The FDD is probing the abortion pill safety. Senior official confirmed the Food and Drug Administration is moving forward with a safety study on mifepristone. Is there like myth? All right, I would pronounce it mifepristone. But is it like like is there like a way? I don't know. Never mind. I don't care. I'm not out there slinging jizz at it's not a thing. It's not a concern for me. But again, in the whole abortion thing, that seems like the best one. That seems like there's no heartbeat. It's just, egg and jizz at that point. Did you see this? This probably make a movie about this. Actually, I don't know. I don't think anything really bad happened, but there was a leak there at the International Space Station, right there, up there on the internet. You got us and you got Russians. Actually, I got to be honest. I was just going to freeball a conversation about what's happening up there on the ISS based on what I saw today. But when I talk about the ISS, I don't know what information is actual real knowledge that I have about the ISS and what is just shit that I've seen on the Apple TV show For All Mankind. Like, I'm like, oh no, they can mine asteroids from the international. Like, is that just from the TV show or anyway? So up there at the International Space Station, the crew had to evacuate. They went and hid inside the star SpaceX Dragon Spit. Let's just call it the Dragon Spit vessel, the SpaceX thing that just went up there. By the way, don't you remember that story from like a couple of years ago? Wasn't there like a broken down spaceship that they couldn't get restarted? Didn't like Elon send a spaceship up to the space station and it docked? And then they were like, look at what we did. We came here. We're going to go home now. And then they got in the car and it was like, nying, 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 nying. And it was stuck there forever, right? Wasn't that a thing? They came back. They must have come back. And I'm thinking about how they probably came back. And I'm just full on thinking about episodes of For All Mankind because they did address that. How do you rescue someone from there? So I don't know what I'm thinking about. The International Space Station crew has evacuated to safe haven, although it should be noted that right now, I believe it's all clear. Out of an abundance of caution, NASA briefly ordered 5 out of 7 crew members aboard the ISS to retreat inside the docked SpaceX Crew Dragon Freedom spacecraft. Too wordy. Just call it the Dragon. The temporary evacuation protocol was triggered due to mounting concerns regarding an ongoing structural leak. All right. The ISS is very old. When they built it, like there were grand plans for like, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that, and then but none of and then we'll do this, and then none of that ever came to be because Congress, started going, we shouldn't pay for space. Okay. So what we've got up there is in the ISS is like this like million-year-old piece of tinfoil. That's what it is. It's a piece of shit. Nobody even wants to own it. It's like ours and the Russians, and we're up there all the time. And apparently there was a big disagreement about how to fix this oxygen leak situation between the cosmonauts and the astronauts who were up there. Anyway, as it stands right now, it seems like everybody's okay. They've lifted the shelter in the Dragon order, and everybody is back inside. I think one of the things that I heard from NASA from one of the astronauts was it seems like people on Earth are far more concerned about this than we are, which is a good sign, right? That's because they're the ones up there like, this is not a big deal. Why is CNN leading, a wall-to-wall coverage? This is not a big deal. That seems to be the attitude from the people in NASA handling this. So don't be ginned up. Seems fine. Seems to be fine. All right, let me see. All right, hold on. See, what do I know here? What do I don't know? I don't know. I need to have more sex, I guess. Barney says the abortion pill and the morning after pill are separate things. So what is this method? Does that just kill like full-on babies? Like instead of going in there with a hook and a coat hanger, now you can just like pour acid on them? Is that what that is? Because if that's how it goes, I am against that. I do not like that idea. See, what it does is the mom takes the pill and then it dissolves in her stomach and it burns the eyes out of the baby. Baby doesn't want to be born and it kills itself right there in the womb. Anybody have a problem with this? Yeah, I got a problem with that. All right, I'll have to look into that. I really, look, again, this is one of those things. This is why I say men ought to shut up about women's issues. Abortion is both the man and the... No, it's not. It's not really. It's not real. Look, it takes two to tango. I'll give you that. But the next 9 months of the woman's life is going to be incredibly different than the next 9 months of the man's life. So shut up. Shut up. Shut your mouth and be supportive because this woman's about to go through hell. You don't want to be pregnant. There ain't a guy, Byron, Barney. You fuckers don't want to be... I don't want to be pregnant. Are you kidding me? I have thought that I would need to... I have had bowel movements that I wanted to go to the emergency room after. I couldn't imagine pushing a kid out of the front. So shut your mouth about it. It just seems... Anyway, I will learn. I will learn, Barney. For you, I will learn the difference between the abortion pill and the morning after pill. The morning after pill, if it is as named, if it is like what I think, it's like, oh, I hooked up with like a skank last night, or a skanky dude last night. The drummer from the band at the bar I work at, right? That's what happens. Like if there's a pill you can take to kind of make sure that you don't have to carry that skanky drummer's kid, that might be good. Especially if it's within the first 24 hours. If that's the morning after pill, I'm all for that one. I like that one. For the guy. I like that one for the guy too, because we are, before it becomes an issue that is solely going to affect the woman for the next 9 months. At that point, it really is both of us. What are we going to do here? You might be pregnant. Here, take a pill. Take a pill. Blue Origin, Bezos. Thank you, man. Yeah. As soon as I said SpaceX Dragon, I was like, no, I don't think it was Elon's. I think Elon shit starts. I think it was Bezos. Yeah, it was Blue Origin got stuck in the ISS. The craft returned without incident by remote. Thank you, Barney. That's Barney, our Johnson Space Center correspondent. Or I guess that wouldn't even be Johnson Space Center. I don't know where Blue Origin is. I mean, I know SpaceX is in Texas. I know NASA is in Texas. Where's Blue Origin? Probably Utah, right? Something like that. Isn't that, don't they? And there's one that goes from the desert in Lake Utah. That might be Blue Origin. Okay, let's go now to the big story affecting everybody here in the Chicago area. We've been talking about the movement of professional sports teams. We've been talking about the Mavs moving to Valley View, the Stars moving to Willow Bend, the situation here on our side, on my side, the Chicago Bears and their stadium issues. So just give you a little nutshell on what this is. The Chicago Bears have been playing at Soldier Field on the lakefront in Chicago since 1972 or so. The Chicago Bears before that played at Wrigley Field since like the 1910s or whatever, the 19-aughts. So, they've always played within the city of Chicago, but modern sports has changed. Cities go through ebbs and flows of viability for mega projects and stuff. So it's in those moments that cities sometimes lose their stadiums to the surrounding suburbs who can just offer more, who doesn't have the burden of a large, growing, aging city. They can, the fancy new suburb can spend on the infrastructure needed for the mega project. So that's what's happened over the years. How many teams actually play in a stadium in the city that they're named for? I mean, I know that there are many, but it's not all of them. And it's not weird that a team doesn't play in the city that it's named for. The Dallas Cowboys have never had a problem with it. The Dallas Cowboys, what did they play, like 3 games in the Cotton Bowl once? The Dallas Cowboys have never played in the city of Dallas. They have stayed in the state of Texas. That's for sure. So anyway, the Bears did not own the stadium, Soldier Field. The city owns Soldier Field. And the Bears now the move for ownership is to own their stadium and be able to run it as a 365 day a year business. Particularly nice stadiums, especially ones that are adjacent to major American cities. Those things get Super Bowls. Those things get Final Fours. Those things get, stops on mega concert tours. So that's what the Chicago Bears wanted. The Chicago Bears wanted to stop having to pay rent to play their games. They wanted to start getting all the money for concessions and all the money for parking and all. They never got all that. So they bought some land in a suburb outside Chicago called Arlington Heights. It's up there in the northwest suburbs. The former site of a very famous horse racing track, Arlington Park. Right? Big famous in the world of horse racing. It's a real legit. It's one of the top tracks ever. It closed like 20 years ago. And so now there's just this big land that used to be a horse racing track. The Bears bought it. And the Bears said, we want to build here. Well, they said, we want this and we want this. And the state of Illinois said, no, we're not going to give you all that stuff. So at this point, state of Indiana, which is really just, right across the street over here, the state of Indiana is seeing this and they're going, hey, we got room on the lakefront in Indiana. If you guys want a new stadium, you guys can, I guess, go to the suburb and be like a stadium in the middle of an interstate with parking lot and bullshit, like just every other uninspiring stadium in America. Or you can just come over to Indiana. We'll build you a stadium right on the lake, right next to we got a Hard Rock Casino out there. We put a stadium there. You think Hard Rock Casino is going to be the only one? They're going to turn that stretch of Northwest Indiana. Look how quick I caught that. Look, I caught that really quick. That was good. All right. I want to make sure we're all good. All right. They're going to turn that stretch of the lake, if they were to lure the Bears with this domed stadium surrounded by legalized gambling that they already have there on the lake, they're going to turn the Indiana Dunes. It's some of the most beautiful, underdeveloped lakefront property. It is certainly the most expensive property that the state of Indiana owns. What do you think is the most expensive plot of land you can buy in the state of Indiana? One that has beachfront property on Lake Michigan that is about 5 minutes from the city of Chicago? Or something in the middle of fucking rural Indiana and no, this lakefront shit, this area that has been ignored for 50 years. This area used to be the industrial belt of Lake Michigan. It used to comprise the southeast side of Chicago and northwest Indiana. They were steel mills, U.S. Steel, all of this stuff. Steel went away, and everybody ignored that part of Chicago and that part of northwest Indiana for 50 years, man. You just drive down that stretch of the lake and you see these former huge swaths of land that used to have smokestacks and steel burning and all this stuff. You see this shit and you go, holy fuck, is somebody going to build a beach resort? I mean, can you get rid of this shit? So now Indiana, at least on their side, is going, yeah, we're going to get rid of this shit. And we're going to turn this into a really nice stretch of waterfront resort. We're going to anchor it with an NFL team. We're going to get a Super Bowl here. We already have legalized gambling. Legalized weed. Well, you don't need to legalize weed. You just cross the street. Anyway, so the Chicago Bears have been rebuked by the state of Illinois, and they've made a decision this morning at 10:57. 10:57 a.m. is when the Chicago Bears rocked the city of Chicago by releasing this. Here, we'll pull this up. This comes to us directly from the Chicago Bears. Now, this also isn't a final decision. This is big, but not a final decision. All right, here it is. I'll read you. This comes to you from statement from the Chicago Bears chairman, George H. McCaskey, and President and CEO Kevin Warren. Yesterday, the Chicago Bears board of directors met and voted to advance our stadium development project in Hammond, Indiana. With the exact site to be selected, we believe a world-class stadium project in Hammond, Indiana will transform the region, connecting Northwest Indiana to the south side of Chicago through the loop and across neighborhoods and suburbs stretching north of the city. It will bring Chicagoland together and deliver new opportunities to its residents and businesses. I cannot tell you how much I freaking love the Chicago Bears right now. Because if you've been following me on Twitter, Pugs Moran on Twitter, or if you've just been hearing, I haven't brought this a lot to the daily stream because I understand that in many aspects, this is a local story, one that affects me and my fandom. But I have been consistent for a year. The minute that Northwest Indiana popped up, I went, them. Listen to them. Go to them. I don't have this weird provincial thing about that's Indiana and that's not us. Anyone who grew up where I grew up on the south side of Chicago understands that Indiana and the people who live across State Line Road, that's all it is. It's just a road. It's a neighborhood. People live on one side and then people live on the other side. And the people who live across the street, those kids might be best friends, but they live in different states. And you wouldn't even know it in some areas. You're like, oh, wait, what state? Am I in a different state? How did I get into a different state? So it's not like they're moving really far away. In fact, the location that they are talking about moving to in Hammond, Indiana is only 10 miles. I believe it's 10 miles. Is only 10 miles. Just further south down the lake. It's only 10 miles away from where they currently play at Soldier Field. Now, the place that they wanted to play in Illinois, the new stadium, the one that services the people of the north side, who, by the way, get everything and always get everything, that would have been 30 miles away from where they currently play. So they have decided to move to the stadium, not 30 miles away. They've decided to move to the stadium location just 10 miles away, just further down the south side, 10 miles. That's what they've decided. But there are a whole lot of people who want to pretend like the Chicago, but they're going to be the Hammond Bears now? I don't know. Do you call them the Arlington Cowboys? I don't think so. Stop it. Here. Anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll show you the place that they're going to be choosing, and then we'll move on because I do recognize that this isn't necessarily a. I got to talk about it. This is if I'm going to do this stupid stream. I mean, this is the thing that I'm passionate about right now. Should have done it as a standalone, right? All right, here we go. All right, let me show you this. All right, so this is, here, we'll pull it up on Google Maps so I can show you. All right, let me show you where they're going to put this stadium. Okay, let's go to Chicago. There you go. All right, we're in the middle of Lake Michigan. All right, here we go. All right, very good. Pull out a little bit more. All right, so you can basically see the Chicagoland area is anywhere where it's kind of gray and filled in, right? You can see this whole area, and you can see it definitely stretches all the way into Gary and all the way into Northwest Indiana. Here, this right here. Here's the line. Can you see this line? Here, see this line? See how weird this line is? Okay, so this is the dividing line. This is the line that divides Illinois and Indiana. Do you see it runs right through the east side of Chicago? So there are literally people who live in Indiana who still consider themselves residents of Chicago because they live on the east side of the street instead of the west side. It's absurd to pretend like they're moving super far away. Okay, so now let me show you where they want to build. This is, okay, so here's where they currently are. Boop. There we go. Okay, so this is where they currently are. This is Soldier Field. Okay, beautiful. This is an absolutely gorgeous location. It looks great on TV. The drone shots are unbelievable. You have the marina. You've got the museum campus here. These are world-class museums, all in walking distance, all in the parking lot. Or there's not even a parking lot. Well, there is a parking lot, but that's a different story. Parking at Soldier Field is one of the reasons that they're moving, okay? So, all right, so here's where they are. City of Chicago, right? Okay. Here's where they were going to move. Or in Illinois. Yeah, got to keep going out. Got to keep going out. Where is, oh, here we go. Arlington Heights. Okay. Where's the race? Okay, so this is where they were going to move, somewhere out here. Is this the racetrack? I don't know, whatever. But as you can see, it is definitely far out in the freaking north suburbs, okay? All right, so now go back to where they were. All right, so here's where they have said today that they are going to build instead. Here they are in their current location, beautiful location in the museum campus on the lakefront. So they're going to move here. This is all they're going to do. Follow the lake. This is the south side of Chicago. Look at these. This is not industrial. These are beaches and parks. It is really beautiful. All of this. Beaches and parks all the way down. All the way down. Now we're into the south side. Okay. This is where it ends. Rainbow Beach. That's about where everything south of Rainbow Beach became steel mills. They didn't use the most Chicago's front waterway was it was made illegal to put any commerce there. So you couldn't have docks and you couldn't have steel mills. So they moved all the steel mills to the south side, and that's where we are now. All right. So this is all this land right here. Look at this land on the water. Look at all of this land. All of this land, these are former steel mills. This is U.S. Steel. This is the east side of Chicago right here. Okay. Here is the borderline. Here's the borderline, and they want to go right here. They want to go right here. Is this Wolf Lake? Yes, this is where they want to build their stadium. This location right here, Wolf Lake, okay? Wolf Lake, this side, this is Illinois. See it? Illinois, Indiana, here's Wolf Lake. Half of Wolf Lake is in Illinois, and yet people are like, oh, they're moving so far away. Anyway, my point is this. This stretch right here, do you see all this? Here's more. This is all steel mills, right? Former steel mills. This can all be redeveloped. All of this is steel mills. This is Northwest Indiana, right outside Chicago. These people, when they get in their cars and they put on the radio, they're getting Chicago radio stations. They're getting Chicago TV when they sit in their homes and watch the news. This is all undeveloped land. All of this lakefront, prime location, abandoned by America's failed industry. They pulled out of there and left some of the best lakefront location real estate anywhere, man. And state of Indiana is saying, yeah, we're going to come in. We recognize that this whole area could be something different in 10 years. And that's what they're doing. Now, why do I support it as opposed to the north suburbs? Well, first of all, the north suburbs, all the way up here, again, I don't even know where Arlington is now. Doesn't matter. Real far away, so far away. They get everything. As a kid growing up, it was just, if I wanted to go to Six Flags, it was just known that it was going to be a 2-hour car ride because Six Flags was built convenient for the north side kids. You wanted to go to a Poplar Creek concert. Hey, you want to go see your favorite band? You're 18 years old? Yeah, get in your car for 2 hours because it's going to be 2 hours from Tinley Park all the way out to Poplar Creek. Everything was for them. Everything cool was like on the north side, south side kids. We got dick. We had our White Sox. And that's why we're so fucking ardently supportive of that. Because it's all we ever had on the south side that was deemed ours. So now we're getting a stadium. Oh, I know it's not actually on the south side of Chicago. It's adjacent to the southeast side, the 10th ward. When you get off the expressway to pull into the parking lot at the new Bears Stadium, the cops are going to be Chicago cops because that's right there on the border. You're going to see Chicago cops as you go into another state stadium, a stadium that they are building, that they are paying for, that the people, the good people of Indiana are going to pay for. They're like, yeah, take our tax dollars so that the Chicago Bears can have a really kick-ass place. I mean, they'll also reap the profits, but there will also be a huge development boom for this entire area. All right, if the stadium goes right here, Whiting, let's say it's the Whiting area. The stadium goes right here. This entire area here is known as the Southland, okay? From Oak Lawn on the southwest side of Chicago, all the way down to Matson, to Crete-Monee, this whole area, Maryville, Indiana. Maryville, Indiana is a big suburb in Indiana, and I'm telling you, everyone in Maryville is like, yeah, I'm basically a Chicagoan. I mean, I live closer to Chicago than, the people in Arlington Heights. So we don't really make a distinction. Northwest Indiana are suburbs of Chicago. So what's going to happen here is that an area that has been completely ignored since the steel mills left, there's been no attempt at redevelopment. There's been no attempt. Why? I don't know. Probably because of some toxic studies, which Indiana and their dealings with President Trump, they're gonna make them go away. Oh, trust me, it's gonna be fine. We're not worried about that. But this entire area will suddenly have a major destination here in this corner of the lake. It's not just going to be football games. There's 10 games a year. They're going to host Final Fours. They're going to host Super Bowls. They're going to steal just about everything cool that would normally be going to Chicago. They're going to get it at the new Megadome just outside Chicago. And people doing things at these events, they're still going to stay in their 4-star hotels in downtown Chicago. It's 20 minutes away. It's a lake. They get that helicopter. They'll be there in 5 minutes. I mean, so this whole area, I am hoping, because it's the area where I grew up. It's the area where all of my friends are. It's an area that I felt has been completely ignored economically, culturally. No, not culturally. You can't ignore the South Side culturally. Screw you. We are still players in the culture. But we're getting a stadium. And everybody's saying, it's going to be a garbage trash heap. And I'm like, well, nah, they're going to. That's the other thing. Oh, so you're just going to have this nice stadium and then there's just going to be like miles and miles of like funky, broken steel mills. Like, really? You think somebody's going to pay $3 billion for a stadium and not redevelop the surrounding area? You literally think there's a giant trash hill. Somebody said there's a giant trash hill. You think they're going to leave the giant trash hill? You don't think that an entire wave of redevelopment along the lakefront? I mean, it's just Michael Jackson's house right there. Michael Jackson's house, huge tourist destination. Imagine the boon in business to the Michael Jackson house come Super Bowl week. Oh, they ever host a Super Bowl there, there's going to be a segment where they're like, we're standing in front of Michael Jackson's house 3 blocks from the Bears Stadium. All right, so there you have it. Huge news here in Chicago. It is not a done deal. It is simply an announcement by the Chicago Bears that the board of directors have decided that right now, because of the actions of the state of Illinois, we are only looking at Indiana, and we're going to move forward with our plans in Hammond. How exciting. How exciting. All right, let's see here. In closing, I love it. Somebody else is paying for a super cool new toy that I'm going to enjoy. Somebody else is paying for it. I don't understand why. It's not like they're going to go, you can't come in here from Illinois because this is just in Indiana. They're not going to do that. They're building us a stadium. We would have had a crappy stadium. It would have been so disappointing. If the McCaskies were just, like the McCaskies, they have no style. They're cheap. It would have been just like, it would have been cool, the new Bear Stadium that the McCaskies would have done in Arlington, but it also, after like a couple of trips there, you'd be like, yeah, I've seen enough. Northwest Indiana, oh my God, they're going to have brothels and gambling. It's going to be like Vegas. It's going to be crazy. Couldn't do that in Arlington. Couldn't do that. All right. What else do we have here? You know what? Here, let's do this. Let me take a break. Let me get another cup of coffee here. And then let's come back. Maddie, let's have Maddie on. Maddie's going to regale us. She's got a whole bunch of stuff that she's been stockpiling from the week. Maddie's going to join us when we come back, okay? All right. Ooh, hold on. Hi, Huerta. Huerta. New person. Adam says, also, I've said over and over, the Mavs and Stars aren't done deals. They're shopping the best incentive to build somewhere. Are you like presenting that like you're the only person who has said that? It's like Adam, like I've said it over and over again. Yeah, we know there's no deals done. There's no deal done in Chicago. There's just an announcement that we have moved the ball forward. We're getting closer to making a deal. I don't know. What is it about Adam that everything seems to be snarky, or I take everything snarky? You know what it is? It's probably a me thing. So I'm going to lay off Adam. It's a me thing. I need to be better. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk to Maddie, and then we'll do the rest of the show. That'll happen. Give me a break, okay? I'm going to get some coffee. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then we'll be back after this with more of The Rant with me, Pugs Moran, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios. Reminding you, did you check out the new episode of Who Killed Live 105.3? Only available on Radio Misfits every Thursday. Another one drops. Find yours exclusively at radiomisfits.com. All right, let me take a quick break. We'll be back with Maddie after this. And now the master mic. All right, so nobody responded. I was sitting here in the dark going, what do you mean sound? Can you hear? Can you hear? Was the mic going on and off? Because that's weird. I got 2 messages here in the chat room that says sound. Now, I don't know. That's just a word without any context. Well, it's okay, good now. What does that mean? I was off the air. All right. Well, you know what? Here's what we can do. We can just talk to Maddie because she is up next here. Hold on. So let's find out what this is. Now I'm turning her up. Okay. We should hear her.
Hello.
All right. Explain yourself. What does just sound mean? What does that mean?
The whole thing glitched out. It crashed down on Twitch and then you came back up.
Oh, while I was off the air?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know why that is, but who knows? All right. Hey, Maddie, welcome to the show. Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody.
All right. Why don't you, hold on. Let me, nope. Now, last time we talked to you, you brought to our attention, this was on Monday, the big story of the New Jersey protests there, the New Jersey immigration ICE protests. What is that still going on? Because I will tell you this, Maddie, you did it on Monday, and when I went home on Monday, it was all over mainstream news. And you and I both agreed that it seems like up until Monday afternoon, after you and I discussed it, that was not a story that was being covered by really anybody but MSNBC. So what is there anything that needs to be wrapped up on that? Did they go home? Is it over? I know.
No, it's not over. They are still protesting, and the detainees who were inside, which is kind of where this all kicked off. So they initiated a hunger strike, which is something we didn't really talk about while we were on, because I think we got really invested in all of the drama that was happening and of course all the video. But the detainees had initiated a hunger strike because all of this really fell apart because of the conditions. Remember when we talked about the moldy food and the bad health care and things like that? Well, Tom Homan, who is the border czar, he actually came out back whenever the whole hunger strike kicked off and said that if it needed to happen, they would force feed these people. And the hunger strike is still on and people are still protesting. So there has been no real resolutions, no real movement forward. And as far as I know, even the governor of New Jersey has still not been afforded the opportunity to go inside and inspect any of the conditions for herself. So they're at a stalemate. I would say we're at a stalemate.
Well, as a proud supporter of the IRA, I have some very well thought out and established ideas about hunger strikes and how we're supposed to treat them, but we don't have time for that. I do want you to tell me, you got a bunch of other stuff on your mind. What's happening in your world?
Yeah, so we got some fun stuff. So, I'm very on social media, and I was thinking that it would be really fun if I brought up a couple of my favorite trolls of the week today. And so I had 5, 2 of them were kind of weak. And so I think the top 3 are going to be the ones that are going to be the most important. So in third place on my top.
Hold on. I need a little more context here. What do you mean your top 3 trolls of the week? What is it? Does this mean these are trolls that you are doing, or these are trolls that you have found and you are going to be sharing with us?
Yeah, no. Things that are popping off largely on X. Okay. So this is not me trolling.
Not you. Okay.
This is viral content that's going crazy. Okay.
All right, let me have it.
So
now hold on. Is any of this going to trigger me? Should I be prepared?
I don't think so. I don't think you're going to get triggered. I think we're going to have some discussion about one of them, though. We already know.
Okay.
But the first 2 are kind of funny and lighthearted. The last one I think is going to have some more meaningful content. So in my third place position, the troll of the week goes to the UFC claw that has been erected on the south lawn of the White House. So all week long we have been regaled with picture after picture of the big giant UFC claw that's gone up, and it's almost ready now because the UFC fight is scheduled to be hosted on the South Lawn on June 14th. And it has been met with quite some interesting takes on what people think about this. Most notably, this past week, our president, who was MIA for several days. There was a lot of chatter going on that he had maybe had a stroke. Well, he did a proof of life presser about 2 days ago, and his whole take on it, because they did ask him what he thought about people thinking that the UFC claw in the front on the South Lawn looked tacky, was that you know what? The Eiffel Tower, when it was erected in Paris, was intended to be a temporary structure, and they liked it so much that they kept it around. And I think this is great, and I like the way it looks. And who knows, maybe we'll keep the UFC claw around too. So I think that's really trolly, in my opinion. I think he's trolling America. America is upset about the UFC claw. And so my third place position of the troll of the week is the administration with the UFC claw on the South Lawn.
All right. Before we move on, you do not, or maybe you do, think he was serious, do you?
Oh, no, I think that.
Like, did you think he would want to keep it there? Do you think he would want? See, this is where I go with this. Do you think President Donald Trump wants to look out his window and see that every single day? You think he wants to keep that there? Or was he just saying that?
I don't know that there's any validity to him saying that. I think it's his little, like I said, I think he trolls people.
Yeah, he's just fucking with people. He's just saying that.
With people.
Yeah.
And he brought up a monument in Paris that people view as a beautiful and people fucking went crazy. So yeah, that's why it's my third position troll of the week, the UFC claw and the administration comparing it to the Eiffel Tower.
By the way, that's another one of them program bullshit things that we all just accept. Donald Trump is not wrong about that, what he said about the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is ugly. We have just been told for 100 years that it exemplifies the beauty of Paris, and isn't it beautiful? And who would dare say, no, it looks like a fucking suburban power tower that, strings together.
Like Tinker Toys.
Yes, it is not beautiful. I mean, it's
like
cool.
An erector set. I agree. Like I said, I mean, but it is their monument, and it has been there, and it obviously is a big part of their structure.
And we've all been told it's beautiful, and Paris is beautiful, and the Eiffel Tower is sophisticated and beautiful. But I'm just telling you that the reality is it's not. We're all just going along with somebody who said it was beautiful. Yeah. It's so beautiful. All right, what else you got?
Okay, so in my second place position, I have Doja Cat this week. So this week, Doja Cat apparently has some beef with Elon Musk. And so she put out this tweet which went absolutely hyperbolic. It is sitting at over 8 million views on X. And she is obviously upset because at some point when Musk took over Twitter and turned it into X, he removed the audio post feature. And so I'm going to just read her little tweet. You can imagine how the responses have been. So she says, "Hey, Elon, if you see this, please put the audio post feature back on here. Thanks. You frog-billed looking bitch, barrel-chested Ewok, you look like you eat sand."
That's funny.
That is funny as fuck. And she didn't give any fucks when she posted it. Now, I will say that I do not think that Elon has restored the audio post feature. But this one post from Doja Cat is, like I said, sitting at 8 million posts, 8 million views, and the replies are wild.
I'm scrolling through pictures right now. If you're looking at the screen, you can see I'm scrolling through pictures of Doja Cat, and I don't think I've ever seen her before now. I don't know who this person is. I know the name.
Dude, she was at the Met Gala. She was the one at one of the red carpets. She wore this all red thing, and she had all the red stones on her face.
What makes you think I pay attention or see that stuff? I know the name because I'm familiar with modern pop culture. I know she's a thing. Just actually being able to pick her out of a crowd, though, this is the first time I'm looking at her. I'm like,
well, that audio post feature is very much has her pressed, and she made her feelings about it now.
All right, there's Doja Cat, and what's next? What else do we have here? Trolls of the week.
Trolls of the week, and this one I use the word troll very loosely in this, because quite frankly I don't think that this is at all a troll, but it is making my top spot because of the amount of reaction and response that all of this activity has gotten over the week. So a couple of weeks ago, Hunter Biden went on Candace Owens' show, and he did a very stripped down interview with her, and now he has started to show up on social media and on X, and we are witnessing in real time he's being very authentic, and he's very much owning his struggles with addiction and things like that. Well, people are, going back and forth with him in a variety of different ways, as you can imagine, not only from the right, but from the left too. And not everybody is very supportive about his reemergence into this public eye, into this scrutiny space. But he's meeting the moment with what I think is ownership and accountability. And because of the fact that I too have gone through a recovery process of my own, I am applauding this, and he is getting a lot of engagement because of it, of course, but it is very refreshing, and largely people are very accepting of this. And I'm going to give my top quote unquote troll of the week position to Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden. I don't know. All right. So here's what I know about Hunter Biden. And I'm frozen on this picture for a reason. Don't know very much about him. Don't even know if he's married. I do know that the chick he runs around with is so attractive. This girl we're looking.
Her name is Melissa Cohen.
Oh my God. She's got this like Uma Thurman, like a discount Uma Thurman kind of vibe going. Oh, yeah. She is something. What is she still doing with him? You would access. That's what it is. He's the son of a former president. You can't do much better than that. All right. So why are you giving him the troll? Just simply because, I mean, is there a specific statement that he made?
Engagement. Yep. And actually he has earned the title on X as the MAGA Whisperer, because he is breaking down all of his critics in such an authentically funny but warm-hearted way. He is not going back with these people with vitriol that literally you can see in these threads where they're calling him a crackhead. He's affirming the fact that he was a crackhead, and then sharing parts of his recovery process with them, to the point that then whoever this MAGA influencer was that came for him originally is going, damn, dude, I didn't even know all that. Well, good luck on your recovery process. So he's gotten the name the MAGA Whisperer, and I think that is worthy of the top spot in my list today.
All right. What else you got? Anything else? I mean, I don't really have much to say about Hunter Biden. We kind of got into it yesterday. I feel like
But we can go into that too, because when we were talking on the phone, it seemed like, and if I'm misrepresenting you, that your position in this was that you didn't have a lot of you didn't put that in the W column, so to speak.
No,
because
credit, but I do not give him credit or empathy for what he is today. Yes, that was my position. I'm not impressed.
And largely because your worldview is that he was born into a powerful family, and he could have made any choice in life that he wanted to, but he chose what he chose. And because of his choices, that cast a gloom over his own father's presidency, and therefore lined his father. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So I can say it. I'm here. I appreciate you bringing. I have very little empathy for somebody like him who was born into a situation where first of all, crack. I don't even get it. How does he, a person of privilege, a person of elite privilege, he is quite literally what CCR sang about. He was a senator's son. He had every advantage in the world, and he becomes a crack addict. Now, I understand that drug addiction and all these things, they don't, it's not like they go out of their way to miss fancy families. They have problems with drugs just like everybody else does. Sure. But I do not understand the choices that he made. He made some incredibly provocative choices, I believe, out of daddy love me, daddy love me. I think that there is a dynamic in this family where Beau Biden was an absolute all-American boy next door perfect son. And then you had Hunter, who could never quite live up to Beau and what Beau was able to do. And in his father's eyes, I think that Hunter carried around this thing where my dad looks at me as less than, I am not the favorite son. So what is the common reaction to that? Rebellion. And that's why I think Hunter Biden made a conscious choice to become the bad kid, because this is how daddy gives me attention. He goes and gives speeches about how proud he is of Beau. And then, oh my God, Beau's cancer battle. Oh, I mean, I just think that Hunter Biden made a lot of really self-serving decisions that I mean, I don't know. History will probably tell better, but the damage that he did to his father, and all his father did in return was love and show support to his son. I don't have a lot of empathy for Hunter Biden. I'm not one of these weird MAGA people who, just hate him for silly reasons about laptops and shit. I don't give a crap. What I give a crap is, here is a kid who had every advantage in the world, one of the elites of America, and he ended up a crackhead. What? Those are his choices, and I can't have empathy. I'm glad he's fine now, I guess, but it's not like good for him. That's how I feel.
Well, okay, and I'm glad that we decided to go ahead and bring this conversation forward, because I think it is an important conversation. I think that anybody who's gone through something like that has a story to tell. And I will be honest and say that I too did not know a lot about Hunter Biden. I did not vote for President Biden in that election, and therefore, I was really very detached from the Hunter Biden, narrative, the whole thing. I didn't really buy into the whole laptop situation, and quite frankly, as someone who has, definitely been involved in drug use before, I never bought the story about the cocaine, so that was really a nothing burger for me. But what I will say is that now that Hunter has, started to reemerge back into social media, this has afforded me the opportunity to get a little bit more familiar with what his story is. And as someone who has gone through recovery, this is not my story. Therefore, I am not saying these things for him. But what I will say is this. Hunter Biden, yes, you might want to paint him as a silver spoon kind of a kid who had everything and he just was looking for daddy's love. But we can't discount the fact that when Hunter was a young child, he and Beau both were in the car with when his mom and his sister were killed in that car accident. Okay. So that was in I believe 72 or 78. I can't remember the exact day. So, this story that also created Joe Biden to be, this man who has lived through so many things, also directly affected Hunter and Beau specifically. And he has a book, and he is now sharing parts of this story through this exposure on social media that is enlightening people to these things. And he says that, after those things happened, that he and Beau were trauma bonded together because Beau was older than him, and he and Beau survived this horrific thing that happened. Then, yes, he does admit that while he was in college and stuff, that he partied a little bit, but largely that was just alcohol and weed, which we would expect. But that when Beau died of cancer in 2025 with brain cancer, that is really when his addiction spiraled out of control, because he lost his hero wasn't so much Joe Biden, it was Beau. And so that's when the crack and the things started to happen. Now, look, he would probably tell you that you're exactly right, that those decisions that he made were extremely selfish, because that is what addiction is. It is extremely selfish. So I'm not going to say that he would disagree with you, and I'm not going to disagree with you either. But I think that there's a lot more of this story that isn't being factored here as to how this all comes about. And that is largely because humans are extremely complicated people.
The idea that he has gone through stuff, okay. We all go through stuff. Everybody has a compelling and unbelievably sad story to tell about their life. Not all of us get to tell our story so publicly, though. He does. And that's another example of his privilege. He gets to now be a guy that you and me, two total strangers, are talking about randomly and applauding his struggle. Well, my fucking struggle. I could tell you some stories, and you could too, but we're not afforded that privilege. That's just another reason why I turn my nose up at Hunter Biden and am resistant to giving him praise, because he hasn't done anything that a million other people haven't done. And it still irritates me that he squandered the opportunity of being born a senator's son and just made choices that I just can't give him credit. I mean,
Well, I feel you on that. And like I said, you are certainly, I have no issue with you having your opinion. I just have a different opinion. And what I will say is this. I think that
he's a pretty handsome guy. I'm like scrolling through these pictures. No, because I'm looking at his woman. Here's his woman right here. I call her the discount Uma Thurman. She's very pretty. I'm like, man, she's probably just with him for the name. But I keep flipping through and I'm like, no, he's an attractive man. He can get a smoking girl.
And he met her while he was like a week in rehab. So she's been with him through the hard times.
What is her deal? God, she's hot. She looks just like Uma Thurman.
So apparently, whenever Joe Biden was about to go and do his presidential run in 2019, the family staged a intervention and they tried to get Hunter to agree to go to rehab. And Hunter got very upset and left the family meeting. And Joe Biden chased him down the driveway and hugged him and cried and said, please, son, please, let's do this. And he had been in and out of rehab several times. So he ran to California. And when he left California, he met her. And then after meeting her is when he decided that he should go ahead and go to rehab and get his life together. So she was a very inspiring figure in his life. And he describes her as his best friend. So, I don't know that I think that she's there because of the name, because she met him at his lowest point in life.
Right. I'm just saying most people, people of privilege have very attractive spouses. And the reason is because we're like, it's because they're powerful. I'm just saying these are two attractive people who probably enjoy having sex with each other. That's my point. They're both attractive. I would also want to say this. Hold on, before we get too far downfield, because you just brought it up again. I was not a great supporter of Joe Biden. I certainly didn't have I didn't think he was a terrible president the way everybody else did. He was a politician. He was a standard Democratic president. But I will tell you this, the most admirable thing about him is the way he handled the whole Hunter Biden thing. At every single turn, Joe Biden was a dad first. He didn't ever scapegoat his son for any kind of political advantage of anything. He took all the arrows and he said, this is my son. He stood by his son. And as a father of a son, I think that's fucking beautiful. And it is really one of the most admirable things that I've ever seen from a president. Just the unconditional love for his fuck up son. We all know he's a fuck up, but for the grace of God, our kids could be fuck ups. So I mean, it was a very relatable kind of father son kind of thing that I appreciated.
Yeah, and to your point about he squandered this opportunity that we know of yet, because here's the thing, he did write a book. And, he does have quite a financial hole that he still has to pull himself out of because, of some of the tax evasion, and he owes some lawyers some money. Through his recovery process, he discovered painting for a method of, handling his mental health, and he calls it therapy. And so, he is now producing, and the art that he does is quite impressive. And there have been multiple art critics that have applauded his art as being quite good. So I think we've only scratched the surface of what we could potentially see out of a recovered Hunter Biden. So don't cross him off your list yet. You're saying he squandered an opportunity. We haven't seen what we might see.
No, I've seen it. This is where our disconnect is. I've seen enough. He needs to just go away. He destroyed his father's presidency. Good for him to get clean. Let him go be clean as a private citizen. I don't have any great hopes for the next 20 years of Hunter Biden's life. I do want to address what Adam is saying in the chat room. He says, I don't get why Pugs has this thing about addiction when he admits it's an issue. They need empathy for sure, not boundless and endless, but addiction sucks. I don't get why Pugs has this thing about addiction. I don't know what the hell you're talking about here. I am talking about specifically, well, actually, I do kind of know, I guess, because I am a great adherent to the idea of choice therapy, that we make choices, and when they end up to be bad, we learn from those choices, but most importantly, we take 100% full responsibility for the choices that we made. In this case, Hunter Biden made choices. This is not a wide stroke of how I feel about everybody in their battle with addiction. I don't know why Adam is trying to paint it this way. This is about Hunter Biden, in my belief, that he made choices, that he is trying to. I mean, I guess he is taking responsibility by saying, I did this, I did that, and I did this. But it's also in the course of a character reclamation project that he seems to be in. So it all just rings me a bit hollow. That's why if he did this, if he went away for 10 years and then reemerged in 10 years clean and everything, I'd be like, isn't that great? But no, he seems to be trying to cash in on social media and digital.
That is exactly what he did.
Right.
He's been recovered for 7 years. So we have heard precious little from Hunter Biden. So what you just described is exactly what's happening. But let me ask you a very, very specific question.
Sure.
So we're ringing out this conversation and largely painted specifically because this is, we're talking about political figures and people of power and people that have prestige. And the comparison I would draw here is that, because of the time and because of how differently we view the world because of social media and propaganda and things like that, Betty Ford was a pill addict and an alcoholic. And I called my mom because I was a child when the Fords were in office and wanted to be reminded of how the public reacted to the intervention that was staged in the White House around Betty Ford's addiction, and how the American public received that, because Betty Ford and Gerald Ford entered the White House after the Nixon presidency, which was fraught with conflict, right? And they wanted a steady, solid Midwestern president that was going to come in and clean up the impression of the Oval. And then we had Betty Ford, who was an alcoholic and a pillhead. And she spoke very publicly and shared personal stories about this. And largely, the American public embraced that and thought and appraised her as a hero for having been so transparent about her struggle. Of course, she did go on to found the Betty Ford Center, which is a nonprofit. But if we're even going to apply the same logic to, well, could they profit from these two things or not? Betty Ford afterwards wrote 2 books that she profited from, as well as became one of the most sought after speakers across the world in order for her to get paid in order to talk about her story. So if we're going to hold court for Hunter Biden and say that he did wrong, he made choices and he ruined somebody because of doing that, then explain to me, help me understand, because I don't understand it, why in the span of a couple of decades, the reception of this is now so different.
Okay, so first of all, little bit, the history there on the Betty Ford thing is not accurate, although I understand how you could think that. It was not known when she was first lady that she was a drunk and an addict. That wasn't known until a couple of years after they left office. The intervention that you speak of was a thing that the Ford family did to Betty, but that was long after Carter was already president. Ford had left. She founded the Betty Ford Clinic, I think, in the 1980s. So while she was first lady, there was no national discussion about, all of this. Years later, I believe, when she opened the Betty Ford Clinic, I think she wrote a book first, and then that's what you referenced, where she talked about her battles. But those battles were not known while she was first lady. So it was a little bit different.
Okay.
I mean, does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying? There was no national discussion when she was the first lady of the United States about addiction and drinking and all of that. There was a national discussion about all of this as it pertained to Hunter Biden while Joe was president. So that was a little bit more in the moment. They kept it a secret from the United States, from the public, that she was a drunk.
Okay. So you're saying that because they kept that secret, that you're much more comfortable with that, or that is why America embraced this more effectively than the fact that Hunter Biden was in rehab
Yeah, no,
while
I think what I'm just trying to
his
say is that
father
we,
was in office.
yeah, no, what I'm trying to say is that I think that we can't really make that comparison because we didn't confront addiction issues in the mid 1970s. We didn't do it until the Betty Ford Clinic opened up. That was started, and it was her, and she was a
Okay.
trailblazer for all that. But that was like the next era. That was her post first lady life. When she
Okay.
was first lady and she was an addict and she was a drunk, and there were a lot of like embarrassing situations around the White House, none of that was made public. The press didn't know about it. They didn't turn it into a story. And also, think about it. We didn't have social media. We didn't have, I mean,
True.
people's
Well, and that's what I'm
opinions.
saying,
Yeah.
because the way we digest information is wildly different now too. But I think that the biggest comparison I could make out of that is how much grace she was given, even when she came out after the fact, and maybe it was after the fact, and that's fine. But nobody was demonizing her for having done that, and everybody embraced her and showed her a lot of grace about the fact that she was so honest about it.
Yeah, but it
And
was it
so
was a new thing, it was a brand new thing. Yeah, Alcoholics Anonymous, that started in the 1950s, but it didn't really become something that anybody talked about until around the same time that Betty Ford. You know what really started us openly talking about addiction issues? Cocaine. The disco cocaine era, where people were doing cocaine at noon in the office because they were told it wasn't addictive and it wasn't a problem. And then, a couple of years after that, people are going, wait a second, we need to talk about this. That's when we as a society started to actually confront the fact that half of us are drunk or high all the time.
hmm,
Never really
yeah,
thought
maybe.
about that. I mean, we kept it a secret. Alcoholics Anonymous was anonymous. Drunk driving
So
wasn't a
they
thing.
were
And
private struggles. I mean, you have a point. They were private struggles. People didn't, and look, alcoholism, even though people didn't talk about it, was rampant, like
oh
rampant
yeah, of
in the
course.
50s and 60s.
Mhm.
Um,
And so was
but
pill popping in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Every housewife in America was a meth head. They were given these diet pills by their doctors, and they pop. Mother's Little Helper, the Rolling Stones wrote a song about it. I mean, we didn't decide
well,
that
so
was
in that
addiction
way,
until
though,
much later.
truly, because but in those times that was much more glorified. It wasn't, we didn't have the information we have now about drugs, drug abuse, and of course the illegal street drugs and the things that we see now. But like, I think it's interesting because what you're saying is that because of the fact we didn't know enough about it, we showed grace in those moments. But now, despite the fact that we know even more about how addiction works and how sometimes addictive personalities aren't choices, but that's a literal disease, now we're showing even less grace. So that's confusing to me. And as a person who has a recovery story of my own, yeah, I do show him grace. I do. And we'll see how this plays out. And maybe it is an attention grab, and maybe it is a cash grab. We don't know those things today. But the one thing I'm going to say is that if this is genuine and Hunter Biden is very invested in his continued sobriety, and he shows and emerges to us as a contributing member of society and a good person, then I'm going to cheer for that, because if nothing else, we do need more good people in this world. And if he is one of those good people, then I'm here for it.
All right, you're an optimist. That's not a bad thing. I also do want to make a point here, though. You said something about, my take on people, society in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and how they dealt with addiction issues, because we acknowledge that drunks were drunks, man. Drunks, they used to be drunk at noon. Look at Mad Men. People used to drink at a rate that I think a millennial today would be like, wait, what? That dude drinks a bottle of scotch a week? That was normal for these people. I think that it was a conscious decision on the part of society not to acknowledge it, not to act like being a drunk was a problem. They ignored it. Everything was swept under the rug. Everything
Well,
was Not, but we came to a point. Hold on, though. Hold on. We came to a point where the idea of standing up and saying you're flawed and this is my problem became more acceptable. And that was sort of around the 1980s. And that's why now we have open conversations about people's addictions and stuff. We didn't used to do it. It used to just be a thing.
Well, true, but but what I'm going to say is that I think the difference there is that some of those mental images that you're bringing up, like Mad Men or like social parties and things, those were normal. When in the 50s and 60s, when you were a drunk, you weren't the guy at the office who was having a sip of scotch with your buddies in the conference room. That was just normal parts of society. Also, during that normal part of society, people smoked like freight trains, and you would go over to people's houses, and there would be a candy dish with cigarettes sitting on it.
Yeah.
Every house my grandmother, every house she walked in and out of had ashtrays everywhere, even if people didn't smoke.
Every house you walked into, the very first room you saw either had some kind of a bar, a wet bar, or a Carnival wagon stocked with booze. You walk into a normal house today in any suburb, you open up a cabinet and there might be a bottle of whiskey, a bottle of vodka, and just for special occasions. They used to run full bars out of their living rooms in the 1960s. I mean, it was a different attitude.
People had a completely different attitude about what responsible drinking looked like. That was not really a term that anybody worried about. I mean, we drove cars without seatbelts, for God's sakes. Our whole idea about safety and what we do in life has completely changed.
Do you know? Do you know how drunk you had to be in 1972 to get a DUI? How fucking falling down drunk. You had none of this. Oh, you blew a 0.08, 0.5. You're just over the limit. No, they let everybody go. Johnny Carson was famously busted multiple times for DUI and let go until the 1980s. And in the 1980s, Johnny Carson got 2 DUIs in the era of the Betty Ford Center, where we're all talking about this now. Yeah. And for the first time ever, Johnny Carson had to come out on the Tonight Show like 3 months apart and say, well, I'm sorry, but I did this. And he had to address it. Johnny Carson had been pulled over like 20 times in the previous 10 years, and it never made news. But all of a sudden now we're cracking down on DUI and Johnny can't get a DUI. So we changed, we shifted the way we talk and see these things.
That's right. And in the Reagan presidency is really where we saw a major shift in that, because that was when the war on drugs happened. And Nancy Reagan's big platform was Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And, and there was all kinds of organizations, like at high schools, you had Students Against Drunk Driving.
Evangelicalism was brought into the White House on a national level, and all of the moral restrictions that come with that began to be a larger part of our public narrative. So it started to be more about drugs are bad and booze is bad and all of that shit. So
back in those days, normal social drinking, even in excess, was not a looked frowned upon thing. No. Like, you went to somebody's party at a house and they kicked off 4 martinis or a 2 martini lunch at work was a normal thing. So those people weren't drunks to us. They were just functional members of society, functional alcoholics. The whole term of functional alcoholics circled around that. So, like I said, possibly, I think that we all of our mindsets have shifted about because we've learned and we've gained education and knowledge about what these sorts of things look like. And also we've identified that addiction isn't just a choice, but in some cases it is a disease. And so, again, same thing that I'm going to say here is that I love to see someone who has a redemption arc. I do think this is a huge redemption arc for Hunter Biden. I don't really care that his dad is Joe Biden. I don't care that he had a sitting senator and then president as a father. If he was struggling with these things and this was associated with an addiction disease and he was making these choices and now he's acknowledging that they were super selfish and destructive and he made poor choices and he's owning these things and he's not trying to change the narrative or shift away blame, which he is clearly not doing, then I think that this is wonderful. And it is really showing a lot of positivity that for the people who are receiving this. And like I said, who would have ever thought Hunter Biden would be called the MAGA whisperer?
All right. Well, nobody, but you're calling him that. So let's go with it. Maddie, we'll talk to you again on Monday. You're going to be scouring the weekend for anything good to bring us, right? Monday?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure there'll be something crazy that happens.
All right. There she is. Maddie down there in Louisiana. She's always fun. I need people to talk to, and Maddie's somebody who I enjoy talking to. I kind of laid out on her there. on the Biden thing. We talked about the Hunter Biden thing yesterday, and I'm sorry. I tell people this all the time. If you want to have this conversation with me now off the air, we are not going to bring it on the stream because I do not fake it. Okay, you're getting my. So we got into it yesterday, Maddie and I, about Hunter Biden, and I let my real feelings be known, and I kept saying, "Let's shut up. Let's do this tomorrow." And then she's like, back, 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 back. And I'm like, nah. And then so I'm yelling and I'm saying what I think. And then when we were done, I said, just so you know, I don't want to talk about it now tomorrow because we've just talked about it. We're moving on. We disagree. We have a whole lot of other things that we like about each other. So we're moving on this subject. And then she brought it up and I totally laid out on her. I just did it. And I didn't do it intentionally. It was honestly a reflection of, I'm bored with this story because I had already shot my load yesterday. Anyway, I'm glad she got it back out of me. She got a little bit of it back out of me. All right. Thank you to Maddie. All right. Let's do this now. Let's run through. We got some. Let's see, how much do we have left here on today's show? Well, you know what? One more time, though. Let's remind Tracy D. Thank you so much, Tracy. Tracy is our executive producer. She dropped something yesterday, and well, certainly does help. The show runs on your tips and your gratuities. That's how we do it. No advertising. I don't have any other job. This is where we find ourselves. So drop a little something either in the Venmo or the Cash App and help this show continue forward. Although Monday is going to be the full-on push for the week. So Monday will be the beginning of Pledge Week, so we'll get into that then. But, you know, hey, anybody wants to get ahead of Pledge Week, you know, little something for the weekend always helps. We talked about the Chicago Bears. We talked about the International Space Station. We talked about the Supreme Court ruling. We talked about, I don't want to do the Sleepy Joe thing now. See, I don't want to do it now. I will say this. All right, so there's a story going around, and it's a picture from yesterday in the Oval Office, and President Trump falls asleep again. All right, he's not asleep. Yes, he is. All right, he may not be in a REM cycle, but that dude is not paying attention. He's not being president, okay? So stop it. He's fine. You know, so there's a picture of him or a video of him. Interestingly enough, though, the video of him, like, in full thrown, like, falling asleep, it's only 7 seconds, which makes me go, that's kind of sus. Show me the 10 seconds before and the 10 seconds after. What? 7 seconds is a weird amount of time for you to just clip it and then, you know, try to have me. Anyway, he has trouble falling asleep. He's an old man. The problem with President Trump is that he's an old man. He's got old man issues, like the fact that he's an old man and he can't sleep when he's supposed to, and he can't stay awake when he needs to. And that's what we're seeing here. All right, I'll show you the video. All right, fine. Here, wait a second. Do we have? Yeah. All right. Fine. All right. Here's the 7-second video. Again, it's sketchy that it's 7 seconds, but the left, they went nuts on this yesterday, and it's pretty funny because it's the president, and he thinks he's so cool. So anyway, we can make fun of family, love, you know, and forms. If he wasn't such an arrogant jagoff, you know, I'd totally let a lot of this shit slide. But I'm like, you think you're so cool? You're not. You're a dork. Let's make fun of you for sleeping. Here he is.
Of a job, an economy, a community, a family, and for...
Dude, this is Grandpa falling asleep. Grandpa's not listening to how your first semester of college was. He's not listening. He's trying to give the impression that he's there for you, but he's sleeping.
Too long.
Look at it. That's all it is. 7 seconds. That's it. This is the whole clip. And the left is going nuts. They're like, we're gotta be sleeping. 7 seconds.
Job, an economy, a community, a family.
All right. So anyway, that's the story that happened yesterday. Everybody's like, Trump's falling asleep. And it's like, it's only 7 seconds. But let's be honest. He falls asleep a lot. Okay. This is just the latest example of President Trump falling asleep. Marco Rubio was in front of Congress yesterday, and he was called on the carpet about president and his problem with staying awake. Again, the video we just saw happened after the video you're going to see now. The video that we just saw was yesterday. The video I'm going to show you now was Tuesday. Okay. So on Tuesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was getting grilled by Congress about, you have any concerns about this president who keeps falling asleep? And Rubio's like, he doesn't sleep. That's the thing. He's a monster. He stays awake. He doesn't sleep. So Rubio is now telling Congress, I've never seen him fall asleep. So, of course, the congressman is like, well, here's some videos of you standing next to him or sitting next to him. So anyway, here. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, guys. It's not sharing. I thought it was. Here we go. All right. So again, Rubio in front of Congress 2 days ago being questioned about, what do you think about the president falling asleep all the time? And Rubio's like, what? I've never seen.
And what American farmers grow and produce has a fair shot.
All right. I guess they're trying to say that he's sleeping here. He's dozing. He's not dialed in. All right. He's not fucking Obama. I know that bugs you people. Obama never fell asleep. Obama was never going. No, not like this guy. Not like Sleepy Joe. Not like Sleepy Don. Yeah, you hate hearing that. Obama was dialed in, man. He was present for every one of those fucking meetings. He may not have done what you wanted him to do, but guess what? He was dialed in. He was doing the job. Not this guy. Anyway.
To be sold around the world. On issue after issue, that's been the case. You talk about foreign aid reforms. This is not our money.
No, he's leaning, man. He's like about to fall completely
taxpayer
forward.
Money.
Right. Secretary Rubio, have you been at more than one meeting where President Trump has fallen asleep?
That's false. That's false. I've never seen him fall asleep. On the contrary, the guy doesn't sleep, which is a big problem because he calls me at 2 a.m. He calls me at 5 a.m. And, you know, I like to sleep a little bit, maybe not 12 hours, but at least 6. So he works. The other day he was at the Oval Office.
It is so wild to me that he is the best of the lot. That this is the best that we can hope for among this collection of ghouls who are currently running our government. This is the guy. This is like the best. It's crazy that he's the best.
Secretary Rubio.
12:30 p.m. 12:30 a.m. I don't know what you're talking about.
Secretary Rubio, I'm going to show you in a moment a video that shows you just lied to Congress.
Oh, okay.
So this is a video of a cabinet meeting literally from last month where Donald Trump is sleeping while you're talking. Please show this video.
Coalition of countries that line up behind the peace deal, behind the
He's sleeping. He's totally sleeping. Not sleeping. Again, not REM cycle. He's checked out. He's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I want to go back to watching CNN. Hate watching CNN.
Border peace, and it's still every day is a challenge. But it's been driven personally by the president. It's the reason why we're involved in this whole Ukraine.
Huh? What? Huh? He heard the president. He literally heard the president and went, huh? What? Huh? What? That's what woke him up. What?
It's been driven personally by the president. It's the reason why we're involved in this whole Ukraine Russia conflict.
Wait, like he was trying. The president needed to make sure that he wasn't supposed to say something here. So stop it. He's checked out, man. Whether he's sleeping, REM cycle, shut up, man. He's not doing the job of president. That's the whole problem.
That's not our war. It's not the president's war. This war started. It never would have happened if you'd been president. But this war is going on, and
here he goes again.
And the president is trying to end it.
You are literally talking about issues of war and peace, and Donald Trump is sleeping.
All right, I don't care about the political bullshit. All I care about is the fact that this guy is falling asleep. It's clear as day. Okay? And look, that's a problem. It was a problem when Biden did it. So here's my issue. Why is it like the people that Joe Biden's nickname is Sleepy Joe? Because it was an absolutely unforgivable crime that a president of the United States could be like that. And quite frankly, if we're being honest, Joe Biden was a different kind. I don't know. Are there as many videos of Joe Biden falling asleep like that as there are of Trump? They're both old men, so I'm sure both of them, there are examples of them doing it. But I think that Trump is doing it way more and with way more frequency than Biden did. And the same people who found that to be an absolutely disqualifying characteristic for a president says absolutely nothing about this president doing the same thing Or even worse, they argue bullshit about REM cycles. He ain't sleeping. He ain't actually. Wait a second. This was a massive problem for you with the last guy. You are full of shit. You are a troll ass dumb person who only acts emotionally. You are not able to look at this situation and go, that's bad when he did it, and that's bad when he's doing it. You have zero credibility. All right, thank you. That's all I have to say on the matter. If you, these people, I mean, the people on the left, who was anybody, I don't remember, I'm sure there were people on the left who defended Joe Biden sleeping, you know. They weren't effective at it because I can't think of any defensive. I just remember everybody going, he's old. Yeah, he's old. What do you want? He's an old president. We elected an old president. This is what you get. Well, we need a big change. And then they elected another old president because the guy falling asleep, which is something an 80-year-old dude's going to do, the guy falling asleep was a deal breaker. We have no credibility. All right, so what else do we have here? The actor James Handy, did this guy, he's not an actor. Just Google him right now. I thought New York Post is acting like this is a big story. And so I pulled this guy, I Googled James Handy, actor, and yeah, the stories came out. He died. It came up. And I'm looking at pictures of him and I'm like, I don't know. I kind of recognize that guy. And then I start reading his bio and they're like, Top Gun Maverick star. And then you read the article and it's like, he played the bartender. He played a bartender. That's not. So I don't know who this guy is. Anyway, James Handy is like a 70-something-year-old actor. And he's got a girlfriend. And his girlfriend has a son. And this morning, the girlfriend's son murdered him, stabbed him right there in the house. And apparently told police that he needed to do it. He needed to end the world of the sin. So, yeah. So, that's a deal breaker. I don't know how horny you are. When you get to be my age, like, and you start, like, dating again, and thankfully I haven't had to confront this, but I do have a friend who had a situation. We're going to date women who are probably on their second go round, which means that they may have already a family from the first time around. And we got to deal with sons, right? This is something that I never had to worry about. I used to like, when I would date girls, I used to love dating single moms. I used to preach about the great thing about single moms is you always know where they are. They're never out running around on you. You know they're at home. Kids got school in the morning. Anyway. I don't know that I would date a woman who has a son who could kick my ass, who could clearly kick my ass. I'm a man in my 50s. Like, if I'm dating like a 40-something-year-old woman and she's like, this is my son, and he's like 19 and a bodybuilder and is like, you better not fuck with my mom. I think I'm out. I think I'm out on that relationship. I don't need that. I'm not a bad guy and I won't do anything bad, but people are crazy. What if I break up with his mom and he's like, why'd you break my mom? And now I got to fight a 19-year-old steroid guy? Yeah, that's a real concern. Anyway, that's what happened for James Handy. He was dating a woman. She had a fully grown son, and that fully grown son seems to be schizophrenic, and he killed him. Go look up who James Handy is. He was the bartender in Top Gun. What else do we have here? You want to do 3 videos? All right, let's do 3 videos. All right, this is a collection of 3 cool-ass videos that I found, and we're going to show them, and we're going to talk about them because they're fun. I've been telling you, oh my God, going on 5 years. We've been doing the show for 5 years. I've been telling you from the very beginning that we got a problem. We got a real problem with these robots and this AI. I think the other day, I showed you a video of a robot. They're always doing these robot demonstrations now. Like every day there's a new video where this robot, look at this robot, solve a Rubik's Cube. We show one freaked out. The other day we were watching a video of a robot doing a dance or something and the robot freaked out, or I don't even know what it is. Anyway, here's another one from that column. And it's always in Japan or racist. I don't know. These are like Asian kids. These are Asian kids. I don't know if it's Japan or China or what. Oh, that's loud. Man, that's loud. Trying to fill time. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Watch this. This is our video one. This is a robot doing I guess, karate demonstration, let's call it. I don't know why we need to try. How about we don't teach the robots hand-to-hand combat just yet? How about we just wait? Let's not teach the robots how to be like, really. Okay. All right, here you go. Are we sharing this? All right, here's a robot. They're a bunch of kids, and they're obviously showcasing the robot. So let's watch. Okay, so did you see what just happened there? So this robot here, a little kid just poked out, and I swear to God, I know he didn't because he's speaking a different language, but it sounded to me like the little kid said, "Hey, robot, you're a bitch." That's all right, listen again. Tell me I'm not crazy. "Hey, robot, you're a bitch." Here we go. Say, "Hey, robot, you're a bitch." Watch what the robot does to that kid. Where's him up, sees the kid, does a little dance. Look at this. It's a kid. This is a machine. Oh! People laughing. There you go. They're going to kill us. That robot walked up to that little kid with no sense that this is a little kid and I need to treat it differently. No, because it's a robot. It doesn't think that way. It hasn't been programmed to make any kind of a distinction between a kid. The robot walked up and I'm going to kick that fucking thing into oblivion. Anyway, there you go. That's video number one. Video number two. Here. All right, here. This is one that's going around. You've probably seen this. I saw this yesterday. The NBA Finals are occurring. It is the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks. I believe the Knicks currently hold a 1-0 lead. This comes to us from opening night in San Antonio. Of course, the big star of the San Antonio Spurs is Victor Wembanyama. He is a very tall gentleman. He is from France, and he's appearing in his first NBA Finals. And here's how it all started in San Antonio. The national anthem being sung. All right, so there he is right there, head bowed, arms crossed. You'll also notice that many of the other players didn't have their hands over their hearts. The criticism here is that look at Victor Wembanyama. He's playing in the NBA, and he's not even proud, and he's doing the national anthem. He's not American. And the NBA is not an American league. The NBA is a global league. This idea that you think that people from other countries must come to this place and before our little sporting events supplicate themselves to the will of the crowd. That's bullshit. Victor Wembanyama is a French citizen. He's from France. He's a basketball player. He's in America. You people demanding that he put his hand over his heart and pretend what? That he loves this country? He probably likes this country, but he loves France. He loves where he's from. So this criticism that, we need to all boycott Victor Wembanyama because he's not even an American citizen, you fucks. We need to stop doing this. I get very uncomfortable with the whole playing of the national anthem before sporting events. I don't know where this thing started. I know it became a very big talking point when, guys started taking knees, but do you realize that the playing of the national anthem was never shown on television other than for special games? Nationwide games, playoff games, Super Bowls, that kind of thing. You would see the national anthem. If you were watching the Dallas Cowboys play the Denver Broncos at 3:00 in the late window in 1996, you would have not seen the national anthem live from Cowboy Stadium. They go to a commercial break. They always went to a commercial break. As a matter of fact, the first instances of people taking knees wasn't seen live on TV. It was in a commercial break because even the fucking advertisers and the networks are like, yeah, this is some bullshit. The playing of the national anthem always struck me as so gratuitously jingoistic. It's like the congressman who like wears the fucking cross and the American flag pin. I'm like, you're trying too hard, man. What, you've got the pin that's supposed to tell me that you love America more than me? Fuck you. I don't need a pin to be proud to be an American and love this country. Yeah, it's all for performative nonsense. And I don't know when the playing of the national AI. In World War II? I mean, when did we start playing the national anthem before sporting events in the United States? Let's find out. When did we start playing the national anthem at sporting events in the United States? What year? What caused it? What's the background? I wonder if it has anything to do with the Olympics. Maybe is it something that American sports stole from the Olympics? Because in the Olympics, it makes sense because the Olympics is representing that's where you would need to have a national anthem. All right, which team won? Well, we're going to play their song. See, that's how the Olympics is. It says the custom of playing the Star-Spangled Banner at American sporting events became a permanent tradition during World War II. That's what I thought. Figured it was World War II. Let's see here. The earliest recorded was in 1862. 1862 was before a baseball game. This was during the American Civil War. So again, another reason, non-performative. The first time, 1862, the first time the national anthem was played before a sporting event in America was during the Civil War. So, not performative, actually just, man. All right. All right. So anyway, it says here, World War II. I get that. We're in World War II, man. Let's remind everybody. Buy war bonds. You got to stir people up and make sure that they are as patriotic as fuck because we need them to give us every little penny they can. For war bonds. Well, and bombs. But that's where the sort of the commercialization, the mass marketing of American pride and jingoism really began in this country. I mean, it's run amok now, but it really didn't exist to that extent until World War II, when it was all about buy war bonds and support your country and Uncle Sam and all that stuff. That's where it began. Anyway, I don't give a shit about playing the national anthem before a basketball game that features players on the court from 12 different countries. What, are we just playing it because this is where we're playing? Why don't you play? You're in San Antonio. Why don't you play the anthem of Texas? Wouldn't that be more on point? All right, so there you have it. Victor Wembanyama, stop trying to make him into something that he's not. He's not proud to be an American because he's not a fucking American. Ugh. All right, there you go. That's number 2 in our 3 videos for today. The first one that we showed you there, that was, of course, the robot kicking a kid right in the belly. Second one, Victor Wembanyama being criticized for being a bad American. Then there's this one. This one is more serious. It's a quick one, and I've ranted about this before. I don't see it quite so much anymore because I live in working class neighborhoods. But when I lived in a very wealthy neighborhood, this was a real problem. And let me show you this. Here's some video. I think this is down in Florida. This is a police cruiser. This is the cam from a police cruiser, a police car just coming down the street. And a kid comes flying out of nowhere on one of those electric bicycles. Well, it's not an electric bike. This is an electric scooter. I've been, ranting for years now about the electric bikes, and I can't believe it. My kid's 17 years old. He doesn't have an electric bike. He doesn't want an electric bike. Oh, maybe he wants one, but I don't want him to have one. Well, he's got a car now. All right, so watch this. Again, this is the view from a police cruiser.
Frightening moments for a Florida teen on that electric scooter colliding with a police car. He was not seriously hurt. Police say he ran a stop sign, and this crash is a reminder that people on bikes and scooters.
Is that a 15-year-old boy or a 25-year-old lesbian? I can't tell. Can you? It's a real fine line, right? A creative, artistic 15-year-old boy or like a 25-year-old lesbian. That's the same thing.
With a police car. He was not seriously hurt. Police say he ran a stop sign, and this crash is a reminder that people on bikes and scooters need to follow traffic laws. Frightening moment.
Oh, that's it, huh? That's all you're going to show? Okay, so everybody's fine. This is a new thing that seems to have gone. It's something that seems to have been normalized without the usual hand-wringing and pearl clutching that precedes the normalization of a new thing for kids. For instance, I grew up in the 80s. Skateboards were introduced on a wide scale. Oh, Jesus. Is this where Adam goes, first skateboard was introduced in 1958 in Southern California? Fuck you. All right. Me preemptively having a fight with Adam. No, skateboards became really popular around the mid 70s into the 1980s. And by the time I was 12 years old, it was like skateboard. We were like the first generation where every kid had a skateboard. Okay. That's not true. 1967. Shut up. Okay. So my mom worked in an emergency. Well, she worked in a hospital. She wouldn't let me have a skateboard. I could never have a skateboard. And I remember there was all of this talk about skateboards. They're killing all of our kids, our emergency rooms. There are lines out the doors with kids. And I had, used a skateboard in secrecy and all that. I'm like, this is pretty easy. What kind of a retard ends up in the ER? Because, that was my whole thought. I'm like, why are skateboards being demonized? So anyway, skateboards were a very controversial thing for the first few years. I'd say like 1978 through 1981. Skateboards were like, what? You're going to kill yourself. Oh, and by the way, helmets had not been invented for anything other than football. That's it. I don't know if you know this about the world of 1980. Helmets weren't invented till like the mid 90s. And kids wearing helmets for like bike riding and shit? Oh, man. That probably started in 2000. We never had a helmet. Do you know the kind of shit that we used to do as kids growing up in the 1980s? Jumping. We'd create dirt tracks and we'd jump actual live human beings with bicycles and we'd land on them and we'd go over the handlebars and we never wore a cute little helmet with a little strap and nobody cared about us. Either nobody cared about us or it wasn't a real serious issue that we needed to worry about. It was, I think, for us, we went, you know what? If there's 100 of us kids doing this every day, maybe 2 or 3 of us are going to end up with serious brain injuries. And we factored that into society and went, that's acceptable. You're saying 97 of us kids are going to escape from this nonsense completely healthy? 3 of them are going to end up with drool cups for the rest of their lives? All right, we'll accept that. Those were reasonable. That was a reasonable thing in 1985. And then at some point, somebody got on a high horse and said, we need to protect those 3 kids who are going to do something stupid and bang their heads on a curb. And now every kid wears helmets. Every kid wears helmets. All right, so what's my point here? My point is this. It seems like this generation, there was like no conversation about giving 10-year-olds motorcycles. Just like all of a sudden 10-year-olds have these machines, these electric bicycles that hit speeds of like 45, 50 miles an hour. And they're 10 years old. Oh, but they got their helmets and they're going up and down the street. When I lived in Highland Park, first of all, E and his kids, they got like 4 like multi-$1,000 electric bicycles for a kid. And they never used them. I always looked at that like, seriously? Just never going to use those? But anyway, every other rich kid in that damn neighborhood in Highland Park had one of these super expensive motorcycles. It's a motorcycle. It's just not a combustion engine, right? When I was a kid, you remember being a kid in the 80s and some sketchy ass kid down the street had a dirt bike or a mini bike and you'd hear it. Ning, 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 ning. Well, you'd hear it, going, oh, somebody in the neighborhood's got a mini bike. And then the cops would show up and it'd be a big deal because, he rode his mini bike on the street. It's like a huge thing. It was like one of the great crimes that a 15-year-old could commit in 1985, riding their mini bike, which was like a little 70cc little lawnmower engine with knobby tires. That's all it was. But no, that was a big thing. Oh, you can't do that. That's illegal. Cut to now, they've got full-on badass motorcycles for kids, and nobody even has a problem with it. And we just saw an example. That kid on the e-scooter. I think kids, doesn't this defeat the whole idea of go outside and get some exercise? That's the other problem that I have with bikes. We've made bicycling now fat accessible. Like you can now go out and enjoy the fresh air and be out in the parks and all that without actually working, without actually burning the calories. Now you're just stupid. Anyway, that's a real serious concern. Kids with these e-bikes, man, they're just little kids rolling around. They're motorized vehicles. And we all just let it happen. All right, that's your 3 videos. Let's wrap up today's Friday show with Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. It is an ongoing series. Every day we finish the show, I like to throw a spotlight on a reason to get out and support your local baseball club. Find yourself in a ballpark, whether it's at the major league level or just some kids playing down the street. That's right. As I do this show, I tell you this all the time. As I do this show from the Southside Studios, I am literally across the street. When I walk out of my front door, a massive sports complex here on the south side of Chicago. There are baseball practices. There are a couple of high schools that use these fields. I can watch baseball practice. It's just a wonderful, comforting, relaxing thing. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. So here, today, this comes to us locally. That's right. Today, we're going to focus on a player. Today, we're going to focus on a player that we've talked about a couple of times over the last few weeks. That player is Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA, superstar of the Chicago Cubs, who a couple of weeks ago got into a bit of a fight with a Chicago White Sox fan in the middle of a game. Here's what happened. Pete Crow went up for a catch, trying to make one of his Pete Crow Armstrong superstar at the wall home run robbery catches, and he missed. And as he lay on the ground after missing the catch in the ball game, some chick, some queen of the South Side, man, she's so awesome. I don't know. This woman, I don't know why she's not like totally milking this. She doesn't want to be famous. She could be. She's the queen of the South Side. She starts getting in Pete Crow Armstrong's face. She's like in the bar area right there on the other side of the fence there at the ballpark. Pete Crow Armstrong just made a mistake, and she's like, yeah, you suck. And Pete Crow Armstrong famously said, suck my fat cock, bitch. That was his response. Suck my big fat cock, bitch. Which was definitely out of character for the guy whose poster is on every little kid's wall here in the Chicago area, for the guy who is presented by both the city of Chicago and the Chicago Cubs, and to an extent Major League Baseball, as the next wave of the great all-American white pie, apple pie baseball player. Right? He's that guy. He's the throwback. Anyway, so here you have that guy, and he's like, suck my fat cock, bitch. That's not a good look. So ever since that moment, Pete's been struggling. The Cubs in general have been struggling. The Cubs have I'm not going, look, hey, seasons are 162 games for a reason. There are moments in the season where really good teams look like really bad teams, and times when really bad teams look like really good teams. That's the baseball season. But to put it mildly, since playing the Chicago White Sox, the wheels have come off the fucking Cubs bus. They've lost like 9 in a row at home or whatever. I mean, it's really been bad for Cub fans. And, you know, it's whatever. They'll get through it. They're going to be fine. My White Sox are doing good, though. My White Sox are just... It's not a contest, but it kind of is. It's not a contest, but it is. So the Cubs played at Wrigley Field yesterday. They played the Budapest A's? I don't know. Sacramento? Is it the Sacramento A's? I mean, they're soon to be the Las Vegas A's. They were formerly the Oakland A's, the Kansas City A's, the Philadelphia A's. Did I miss anything? The current Sacramento A's, yeah, they began as the Philadelphia Athletics. Philadelphia Athletics back in the days of 1905 or whenever. They've moved around. The A's are the franchise that have like moved. What's my point? So the Cubs are playing the A's in Wrigley Field, and we're going to do a little bit of a how it started, how it ended segment here, and we're going to focus on Pete Crow Armstrong. Once again, I've been telling you the much embattled Pete Crow Armstrong. Let me just state as a White Sox fan, Pete Crow Armstrong's a really good baseball player. He's got some, there are some things as a fan that I'm like, well, I question this, and I question that he'll ever truly reach his ceiling because of these things. But there's no denying that Pete Crow Armstrong is a really good baseball player. And interestingly enough, it's about his defense. His defense, as a center fielder, he's one of the best defensive center fielders in all of baseball. So here we go. This is our how it started and how it ended. Remember, he's been in a serious funk since telling that White Sox girl to suck my big fat cock. So let's see how it's going for Pete Crow Armstrong. Here he is.
We're in position tonight. We're in the 6th inning. The A's lead 2-0. Shea underneath it, a touch. Crow Armstrong
Uh-oh.
can't find it. It drops. It goes all the way to the ivy. Here goes Shea. He will be sent home by
All right, there you go. Oh, that's too bad, Pete. Let me show you what my problem. Can I show you what my real problem with Pete Crow Armstrong is? And to be clear, I would take him on my team, and you would too. But here is since he's a Cub, and I am free with my critical opinions of Cub players. He has no heart, and he's a head case. If he is not the superstar, if the superstar fucks up, he crumbles for the next 30 seconds after him not being the superstar, or in the next 30 seconds after him failing at being the guy we all think he is, he crumbles, and he is absolutely worthless. We saw him during the White Sox game when that moment with that fan, preceding the interaction with the fan, he went up to try and rob a home run and missed and fell on his ass on the warning track. Did he get up and hustle after the ball? No, he sat there with his legs spread and slunk his head down into the chest. He fucked up, and he's not a grinder. He wasn't like there are players out there whose motor is going all the time. In that instance, Pete Crow Armstrong he missed the ball, and then he sat there and pouted while the runners are rounding the bases, while the other player, the left fielder for the Cubs, had to come over and get the ball because Pete was sitting there Indian style pouting. Once he got up, that's when the woman goes, "You suck." And he goes, "Suck my fat cock." So he was obviously going through something. The problem with Pete Crow Armstrong is that he seems to be a head case, and he doesn't stay in the game when shit is going bad. Here's another example. I want you to watch this. Now, he's lost the ball in the lights at Wrigley here. He's not the first. It doesn't happen all the time. It's a certainly bad look for one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball. But this is not something that has never happened before. But watch what he does once he realizes that the ball has dropped behind him. He doesn't run to the ball. He just turns and is like, "Oh, I guess I missed it." Meanwhile, the right fielder and the left fielder are crossing like 50 yards of outfield to get the ball that Pete hasn't reacted to. That's my problem with Pete. Now watch. This is what he does.
A's lead 2-0. Shea underneath it, a touch.
Look at him. All right, it's lost. He's got his hands. He's like, "Where is it? I don't see it."
Crow Armstrong can't.
All right, now he knows he doesn't see it. He's afraid he's just going to get hit in the face with it at this point.
Find it.
All right, and there it is. Now it's dropped. It's dropped right behind him. Let's watch what he does. Once he recognizes the ball is behind him, does he bust ass to get to the ball to finish the play, or does he just stand there and go, "Wah"?
It drops. It goes
Look at him. Look at he's staring at the fucking ball, and he's just standing there.
all the way to the ivy. Here goes Shea.
Look at it. He's still just standing there. The two other outfielders came and played the ball. He's a superstar and a mega talent, but he is a head case until he can get past. Yeah, you're going to fuck up. And once you fuck up, it's about what you do in those moments after you fuck up that we remember. I'm going to remember this, PCA. I'm going to remember you not reacting and once again pouting because you couldn't be the hero.
All the way to the ivy. Here goes. Crow Armstrong can't find it. It drops. It goes all the way to the ivy.
That is unforgivable. Come on, man. If you're a baseball guy and you're watching the way he acts, he turns, he sees exactly where the ball, and he doesn't even make a move towards it.
Crow Armstrong can't find it. It drops. It goes all the way to the ivy. Here goes Shea. He will be sent home by Bobby Crosby. The relay throw. Position.
All right, so there you have it. That's how it started for Pete Crow Armstrong. Boy, oh boy, he took a beating too in the moments following that. That was trending #1. Sox Nation had so much fun at his expense. Ha, ha, ha. PCA. Boy, that woman at White Sox Park really mafoogied his season. Well, that was how it started. Here's how it ended. Of course, this is PCA in a nutshell. This is what you sign up for with PCA.
In the air, falling.
Bottom of the ninth, tie game, 2 outs. PCA comes to the plate.
In the air, falling.
Oh, my goodness. first place. I needed this.
All right. I'm a White Sox fan. That was awesome. Good for them. You know what? They deserve to have fun. That looked great on TV. I'm looking at this beautiful Thursday night under the lights at Wrigley Field in Chicago. It's 80 degrees. The wind is still. It's just fantastic. And that happens. I'm not so much of a White Sox fan that I would be like, oh, that sucks. I'll admit, I'm watching PCA at the plate with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, 2 innings after he made that huge bonehead move in the outfield. And I'm thinking, that's it. That's the way we can really humiliate PCA tonight. We can have the video of him screwing it up in the outfield, and then we'll bookend it with him, with the bat on his shoulder, striking out in the bottom of the ninth, looking. No, that's PCA. PCA's going to not hustle for the ball after he makes a mistake, but when you need that hit in the bottom of the ninth, that's who PCA is. Good for him. Good for him, because I really don't. I mean, aside from the fact that he's a Cub, I don't like him because he's a Cub, but he doesn't seem like a bad guy. He does seem like a guy who enjoys being PCA. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with him leaning into being like the face of the Chicago Cubs. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Some Sox fans have a real problem with that. Oh, fuck that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm not that way. Why? Because it's modern baseball, man. He could be over on our team. And then we're going to have to, who knows? He might come a free agent. He doesn't want to play for the Cubs anymore. That's the thing about Chicago. These guys live here and they have houses and their kids in school. And when they become free agents, there's another team in town that they don't have to move. They can just, switch over. So who knows? A good player like Pete Crow Armstrong should never be dismissed. However, I do hope that he can get past. He's still a kid. He's only in his third, fourth year, something like that. He's still a kid. I hope that he can get past that whole thing where he just crumbles in the moments following something not going the way he wanted. He tends to crumble. But then right there with the spotlight, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, tie game, man on second and third, Pete Crow Armstrong, laser base hit, Cubs win. Walk it off. That's baseball, and you can't beat the fun you can have at the old ballpark. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's show. One more time, our executive producer of today's show is the incredible Tracy D. Thank you, Tracy D. Heading into the weekend, you want to drop a little something in the tip or whatever, that would be appreciated as well. We will, on Monday, begin the full court press with the Pledge Week. That's where we try and get this show paid for the next month so we can continue doing the kind of talk radio we do here each and every day at noon. Nonpartisan, non-political, just a guy who's got a whole bunch of opinions on a whole bunch of different things, and I don't fit into a box. And I'm banking on the fact that you're like that as well. Every day, Monday through Friday, noon, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios here in the beautiful south side of Chicago. Also, RadioMisfits.com. That's our parent company. That's where we run all this through. Radio Misfits, they've got the Who Killed Live 1053 documentary series up there. New episode dropped on Thursday, so check it out. The story of Dallas's favorite shock jock station and why it had to go away. Why it had to go away when the numbers were huge and the money was pouring in. That's what's investigated in the docuseries. Who Killed Live 1053, available exclusively on Radio Misfits, RadioMisfits.com. All right, guys, love you much. Have a great weekend. Be cool with each other. My son's coming tomorrow. Oh, man, oh, man. Oh, hey, here we go. We can talk about this since I love talking about my son. So I sent him a text yesterday and I just said, we may not do much this summer because, times are tight money-wise. I'm gonna be relying on a lot of free stuff. I said, we may not do much this summer, but I promise you the one thing that we are going to do is we are going to see Disclosure Day next weekend. Disclosure Day is the Steven Spielberg movie that's opening next weekend. And he says, what's that? And I go, what do you mean, what's that? Disclosure Day. It's Steven Spielberg. It's going to be the movie of the summer. It's going to be the movie of the summer. And he's like, no. He's like, I don't want to see that. I want to see. So anyway, long story short, I sent him the trailer for Disclosure Day, and he's like, "Okay, Dad, that looks cool." But my 17-year-old son put 2 movies on that I'd never heard of. It's starting to become fun to be his dad. I had spent one of the main things that I really enjoyed with the time that I had with my son, because with a divorced family, I don't have custody all the time, right? But with the time that I had with him, I made it sort of a point to try and make him a well-rounded member of society, right? Whether culturally or, an awareness of things. Like, he knew things that a 10-year-old shouldn't know, right? Like, Orson Welles was 25 when he directed Citizen Kane. I know 10-year-olds should know that. No 10-year-old should know who Orson Welles is. So anyway, we did it with music. We did it with movies. I exposed him to like Richard Pryor at like 8, right? All of these cultural things that I want him to be aware of, because as he grows, I want him to sort of see the world in a way of endless opportunity. So anyway, he's 17 now. And I can tell you that all of my hard work has paid off, because as a 17-year-old semi-grown up, when my kid suggests new music for me to listen to, he ain't wasting my time. He knows exactly what it is that I would like. And he's like, "Oh, I think you like this." And I now have the trust in him, because I spent my whole life, exposing him to this and that. There was that great video that I loved that I had on Facebook where he was like 4 years old, and he used to go to sleep to Johnny Cash's greatest hits or Bruce Springsteen's greatest hits. It was one of the two, because both of those guys tell sort of stories. So it's almost like story time. And I had this great video of him sound asleep at like 4 or 5 years old with his little laptop still open and just playing Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire on a loop. And I'm like, that's the coolest 4-year-old on the planet. I go, that 4-year-old just bopping, Johnny Cash to fall asleep to. Anyway, it's paid off. My kid said, "Dad, that looks like a good movie, but are you familiar with these movies?" And he hit me to these 2 movies. And look, it used to be when he would say, "Dad, you know what movie I want to see?" I'd be like, "What?" He'd be like, "Hitler versus the zombie invaders." I'm like, "I don't fuck, dude. You got terrible taste." He doesn't have terrible taste anymore. He put 2 movies on my radar that I'd never heard of, and I'm sure a bunch of you guys have, because they are legit movies. I mean, I looked at them. I'm like, "Oh yeah, man, they are out there." He put a movie called Back Rooms on my desk. He's like, "Dad, we're going to see Back Rooms." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, what's this?" And then he put a movie called Obsession. Both of them are, I guess horror or tangentially horror sort of themed. But if you guys heard of this movie Back Rooms, I'm sorry. My kid is really into this. He's a writer. He likes to be creative and all that stuff. And, there's this creepy pasta thing. I've heard of it before. It's like for fans of horror and all that. It's an online group, and it's a type. Now it's a type of genre. Anyway, he was explaining all this to me. And he told me about this movie, Back Rooms. And I went and I watched the trailer for it. And I was like, "Dude, what did I just watch?" He goes, "Pretty cool, huh?" And I go, "I've never seen anything like that." As a matter of fact, the first thing I said to him, I go, "I don't know who this director is, but this director is obviously influenced heavily by Stanley Kubrick." And my kid goes, "Kubrick's his main guy." I go, "Whoa." My kid goes on to explain to me who this director of this film Back Rooms is. A 20-year-old kid. This is an A24 film, by the way. This is a very big Hollywood-backed major film with big stars in it. 20 years old. This kid is 2.5, 3 years older than my son. And he's out there making a movie for A24, a horror film called Back Rooms that comes from some YouTube channel that he originally. Point is this. This movie looks incredible. It looks incredibly cool, crazy. It's like certainly not a rehash of any story we've seen before. Anyway, so he put this movie Back Rooms, and you know what? Why not? I'll show it to you. Let's watch the trailer. And apparently, if you're old like me, you've never heard of this before. But if you're young, apparently you know all about this 20-year-old director. He's apparently quite the thing. All right, let me see here. Backrooms trailer. I had never heard of this film before. All right, here it is. Is this the Backrooms official trailer? All right, here we go. Again, remember, the person who came up with this story, the person who wrote this, the person who is directing this is a 20-year-old kid. And he created this story and he wrote it and he directed it originally on YouTube when he was a 15-year-old kid. Check this out. Backrooms. Never heard of this movie until yesterday when my kid told me, we're going to see Backrooms.
Can you hear me? I don't understand. What is this?
It's beautiful. Am I right?
Hello?
I mean, come on. I've never seen that. 20-year-old kid. You're telling me. So the premise of this thing is that there is this furniture store and there's a wall and there's a little crack in the wall in the very back of the store. And if you can get through that crack in the wall, you find yourself in this back room that apparently goes on forever. And there is just mazes. And oh my God, that looks really psychologically fucked up. And I am in Backrooms. 20-year-old kid started from a YouTube thing. By the way, I watched all the original YouTube movies. There's 22 videos on his YouTube channel. I don't know what his name is. Tyler something. I don't know, whatever. Look it up. Anyway, I'm very impressed. I'm like, my kid's not an idiot when he suggests something to me now, whether it's music, a TV show, or, a new movie. I don't have to dismiss it anymore because he's growing up. He's growing up. He's got good taste and stuff. And I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that because I am the one that was making him watch Orson Welles movies at 10. All right. Guys, I hope you have a great weekend, and I'm going to have a really good time, and we'll be back here on Monday. We'll be back here on Monday at noon. Thank you to Tracy D, our executive producer. Tip the show if you can. If not, still love you. Here's what I need you to do, though. Remember, stay neighborly.